Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Ascension for All. Start with Sss-Level. Mechanical Heart. Chapter 1, 2040, Blue Star. Sha Kingdom, Shanghai City. In a room in a small rental house, Yi Hang is sitting in a wheelchair. He was staring at the personal terminal projector on his wrist attentively, browsing the information on it. Ascension information. In the early morning of 1 month ago, Zhang Yuyan, the female Valkyrie goddess of Daxia, entered the Tao with martial arts and shattered the void and successfully ascended. Ascension information. Recently, Li Shinan of Daxia Kingdom has accumulated merits in 10 lifetimes, and his merits have been successfully ascended. Ascension information. Saint Emma of Jerusalem was guided by the light of heaven and successfully ascended. Browsing the information projected on his wrist, Yi Hang couldn't calm down for a long time. The world is so crazy. 20 years ago, a game called Ascension came to the world. Immediately afterwards, various strange dungeons appeared, and mankind fell into brief chaos. After that, the era of dungeon adventure and universal ascension began. All humans on Earth who are over 18 years old can participate in the National Ascension game and enter various dungeon worlds to experience and gain extraordinary abilities. Eventually, he ascended step by step. Of course, not everyone can ascend successfully. Some people successfully ascended, while others failed and died in the dungeon world. There are also people who choose to stay in the dungeon world forever, marry a wife and have children to spend their lives. Yi Hang, who just turned 18 today, was not originally from this world. In his previous life, he accidentally traveled to this blue star world due to an air crash. It's a pity that I was born with bad luck after traveling through time and being born into this world. I was born with a disability, and my lower body has been disabled since I was a child. Yi Hang spent the entire 18 years from childhood to adulthood in a wheelchair. Fortunately, the world has come to this world because of the game, Ascension. The state provides free support to disabled people until they reach the age of 18 and can enter the game. Otherwise, Yi Hang might have died a long time ago and would not have waited until the age of 18 to reach adulthood. 18 years later, I can finally enter the Ascension game. Yi Hang was a little excited. After waiting for 18 years, he finally had hope. Today I was finally able to connect to the game, Ascension, and start my new life. He pinned all his hopes on the game of National Ascension, hoping to obtain methods or abilities to cure his disabilities from various dungeon worlds. According to Yi Hang's understanding, these dungeon worlds are strange, and the dungeons generated by each person are different. Ding, after testing, you are over 18 years old and meet the requirements. Do you want to join National Ascension and start your new path to ascension? A crisp reminder sounded from the halo on his wrist. Coming. Yi Hang looked a little excited when he saw this piece of information. I'm joining. He chose to join with a determined expression. Ding. Start connecting. The link is successful. Welcome to Ascension Island. Congratulations on successfully joining the Ascension for All game and starting your own path to ascension. I wish you a happy game and an early ascension. You have a gift package for newcomers. Do you want to open it? Looking at the surrounding stars, there is a small island with only a 9-foot radius at his feet, floating in the void. This is the private island of Ascension game, located in the void. In the center of the island, there is a jade tablet floating on it, which displays various information. Yi Hang was excited. Everyone who has just joined the Ascension game will receive a novice gift pack. As a big gift package for novices, this gift package can provide various talents, abilities, treasures, etc. In short, it is very diverse. Some people were lucky enough to develop S-level abilities, others developed various advanced skills, and even powerful talents, etc., and they have been singing high ever since. I wonder what kind of talents or treasures I can develop. Yi Hang rubbed his hands with unavoidable anxiety and anticipation. It is best to have treasures and things that can be useful to him. Jade Emperor, Tathagata Buddha, Sanqing Taoist Patriarch, please protect me. He muttered something and muttered for a while before looking at the couple's gift bag. Open the newcomer gift bag. Yi Hang gritted his teeth and chose to turn it on. Ding, the newcomer gift pack is open. Congratulations, you have obtained the only Sss-Level mechanical heart. When the prompt sounded, Yi Hang's heart jumped and his eyes widened. A big deal. The Sss-Level was released. It's actually an Sss-Level thing. Yi Hang was very excited and looked a little excited. He stared at what came out, a powerful treasure. An Sss-Level mechanical heart. This mechanical heart is hazy and looks like it is composed of countless intertwined programs, as if it is not a real one, but a virtual program. Fusion. Yi Hang began to fuse this Sss-Level mechanical heart without hesitation. Buzz. With a trembling sound, the mechanical heart turned into a ray of light and flew into the center of his eyebrows and merged instantly. Yi Hang felt a boom in his brain and almost exploded. His consciousness was in a trance, and he felt like something was blending in, as if it was turning into countless information, merging one by one, causing his brain and consciousness to mutate. When the fusion was completed, Yi Hang woke up and felt that his brain had become extremely empty, with countless thoughts surging and countless thoughts exploding. It was as if a terrifying quantum computer was installed in the brain, making his brain extremely terrifying in an instant. He saw the mechanical heart inside the brain, which merged with the soul consciousness to form protective layers. Only after fusing the mechanical heart did I understand its function. There is an endless space in the heart of machinery, in which a huge virtual world can be built. And with the upgrade of the mechanical heart, the created virtual world can also become real, truly creating a world that is unprecedented. The most important thing is that with his mechanical heart, he can invade any network at will and even control all intelligent programs. Thinking of this, Yi Hang's eyes gleamed as he stared at the personal picture information on the jade tablet in front of him. At this moment, he had an eager idea in his heart. I wonder if he could invade the Ascension game. Snapped. The next second, Yi Hang slapped himself and woke up. I'm drifting, I'm drifting. Yi Hang had cold sweat on his forehead and couldn't help but shudder. Just now, I was drifting. If I fused a mechanical heart and wanted to invade the game, Ascension, wouldn't that be asking for death? You know, these things are given to you by others. If you want to invade someone else's house with the things they gave you, you are definitely looking for death. Yi Hang took a deep breath to calm down. The most important thing at the moment is to venture into the dungeon world and find a way to solve your disability. Ding, do you want to open a copy of the game? Note, you can choose to enter the game copy with soul consciousness or real body. Looking at a virtual screen popping up in front of him, Yi Hang calmed down completely. Choose soul consciousness to enter. He chose to enter with his soul without hesitation. There is no way, he is disabled now, if he goes in real body, he is looking for death. A cripple who can't move. What else can you do in the game dungeon besides delivering food? Ding, random copy, start transmitting. 10.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6. As the countdown ended, a ray of light flashed, and Yi Hang felt his eyes darken, his eyes closed, and he sat in the wheelchair and lowered his head. 1984, Los Angeles, United States. Night. At a construction site, a worker with a bucket garbage truck is preparing to work. Zera. Suddenly, arcs of electricity appeared all around, preventing the car from starting. The black uncle looked confused, opened the car door in panic and ran away. The surrounding electric current flickered and struck all around. Soon, a ball full of electricity appeared. Bang! With a loud noise, the electric light dissipated, and a burly man with muscles all over his body slowly stood up in the smoke. This man was wearing nothing. Yi Hang looked around blankly, shook his head, and felt a little dizzy. But soon a brand new vision came into view, as if various data chains flashed in the eyes, and soon merged into the mechanical heart of the brain. This is. Yi Hang looked around in shock. Various scanned data appeared in his sight, and he couldn't react for a while. Soon, a stream of information came in, which shocked Yi Hang. Yi Hang looked at his body and found that his muscles were full of strength. But he felt something was wrong because his body structure seemed different. I immediately understood based on that information. Skynet, the world of the Terminator, am I the Terminator? So, I am the T-800 Terminator sent by Skynet to kill Sarah Connor. Yi Hang had a weird expression on his face as he continued to accept the database information from the Terminator, swallowing and absorbing it under the fusion of the mechanical heart. It didn't take long to figure out the ins and outs. He soon realized that the copy he entered was a copy of the movie, Terminator, World. My copy is a movie from a past life. He was surprised and happy. Wouldn't this have some foresight? And he turned out to be a villain Terminator sent by Skynet to assassinate Sarah. Am I going to assassinate Sarah, the heroine? A thought came to Yi Hang's mind, but he quickly suppressed it. Just kidding, this villainous Terminator didn't end well. He couldn't kill Sarah at all, but was killed instead. So Yi Hang's first thought was not to assassinate the heroine Sarah. Find some clothes to wear first. Yi Hang didn't expect to enter the dungeon world and become a villain Terminator robot. He felt that his soul consciousness merged into the mechanical heart, absorbed the Terminator's program, and replaced the other party. After turning into a Terminator robot and feeling that his soul was fused with the mechanical heart, his soul consciousness has become different in the way of thinking with an intelligent program. At this time, Yi Hang found 3 gangsters not far away watching the night scene. He walked directly that way. Hey, look over there. What the hell is that guy doing? The 3 gangsters saw Yi Hang coming, with a hint of surprise in their eyes. Ha ha ha. The 3 people suddenly laughed. What kind of look is this? He doesn't wear any clothes and looks like a fool. Hey, it's a nice night, perfect for a walk. A gangster with dyed green hair mocked. Yi Hang stepped forward and looked at the 3 of them. Under his data scan, the body data of the 3 people came into view. They were weak to robots. Hey, Lu Mao, give me your clothes. Yi Hang said bluntly. Are you looking for death? Lu Mao immediately took out his switchblade and threatened with a ferocious expression. Yi Hang glanced at him and kicked him away. Bang! Lu Mao flew more than 10 meters, vomited several mouthfuls of blood, and his chest was completely sunken and lifeless. The other 2 people were shocked and angry when they saw this. Fark, you fool! The 2 companions took out their switchblade knives and wanted to take action. But Yi Hang was faster and took the lead, punching the other person. Bang! The fist penetrated directly through the gangster's chest, and he received the box lunch on the spot. The blood stained the ground red. The remaining person collapsed on the ground in horror, looking at Yi Hang, who was walking towards him with fear on his face. No, don't kill me, I'll give you clothes. The remaining gangster took off his clothes as he spoke. After Yi Hang changed his clothes, he kicked the opponent's head off. He straightened his clothes, plundered all the money from the 3 of them, then took a mobile phone, put on a pair of sunglasses and strode away from the scene. Yi Hang was going to get some weapons for self-defense. Even though he was a robot Terminator, he couldn't tell because of his artificial skin. But he knew very well that he was not invincible and could still be easily killed. In addition, the Resistance Army also sent a person to travel here to protect Sarah, but he didn't want to join in the fun. As for Skynet's mission, screw it. Since Sarah Connor, the heroine, can't be killed anyway, it's better to hide in secret and see what's going on. Dad, we're late. Not long after Yi Hang left, a man and a woman came here and watched the 3 dead gangsters in silence for a while. If he were still here, he would definitely recognize the man and woman as the governor and the heroine Sarah. On the other side, in front of a gun store in Los Angeles. Yi Hang got out of the car. Of course, the car was stolen. He opened the door and walked into the gun store. The owner was a white man. Hey man, wanna buy some dick? The white boss looked at Yi Hang with a smile, thinking that business was coming. Yi Hang took a look at the situation in the store and found that there were quite a few guns and ammunition. As expected of America, guns are sold everywhere. Boss, do you have any powerful weapons? Yi Hang asked casually while looking at it. After hearing this, the white boss looked at him up and down in surprise and said with a smile, "What kind of weapon do you want, a Gatling or a rocket launcher? Take it out and take a look." Yi Hang's eyes lit up and he asked hurriedly. The boss turned around with a smile and opened a hidden compartment to reveal a door. "Come on, the stuff is inside," he said as he walked in. Yi Hang followed the boss into the secret door. As soon as you enter, you feel like you are entering an arsenal with all kinds of weapons. Yi Hang fell in love with a Gatling model at first sight. This GAU 12 inches balancer, known as the Gatling cannon, is terrifyingly powerful, but too heavy. The old white man smiled and introduced the Gatling cannon that Yi Hang was interested in. Yi Hang fell in love with this one at first sight. Just because others can't pick it up doesn't mean he can't pick it up. He is now a Terminator, what is he like without carrying a Gatling cannon? Here, let me introduce you to another one. The old white man turned around and was about to introduce another gun. Bang! When the old man wasn't paying attention, Yi Hang went up and knocked the old man unconscious with a gentle slap from behind. The old man's vision went dark and he fainted and fell to the ground. If Yi Hang didn't kill him, it would be bad if the police were chasing him. He directly shouldered the GAU 12 inches balancer, Gatling cannon, then loaded a large amount of ammunition and took a rocket launcher. Then he ordered a lot of powerful bombs and filled a big bag. Yi Hang walked out of the store carrying the Gatling cannon, put the weapons and ammunition in the car, started the vehicle and drove away. Well, soon after, the comatose old man woke up, but he became a fool. Perhaps Yi Hang accidentally used a little more force and was knocked unconscious. As for the old man's change, it has nothing to do with Yi Hang, he has already disappeared without a trace. Los Angeles. A dark alley suddenly lit up with flashes of lightning. I saw a ball of electric light flashing with arcs of electricity. A strong wind blew through the alley, blowing garbage everywhere. Wow! As the light dissipated, a man without clothes fell on the ground. This man is none other than Kyle, a soldier of this era who was sent to this era by the leader of the resistance army, John. A future warrior dedicated to protecting Sarah. Ahem. Kyle coughed violently and got up shakily. At this time, a homeless man not far away was staring at him with wide eyes. Hey, you okay? The homeless man asked. After Kyle got up, he first looked around, finally saw the homeless man, and then walked up with malicious intent. No, 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 don't. Soon, the screams of homeless people came from the alley. Kyle took off the other person's pants and put them on himself. This guy actually snatched someone's pants. Kyle, who had snatched his pants, saw a police car coming from outside the alley, and immediately ran inside in a panic. At this time, on the top of a building not far away, Yi Hang was observing Kyle from a distance and witnessed the scene of the other party being teleported over. Kyle, the future warrior, protects Sarah. Yi Hang muttered to himself. Then he turned around, jumped off the roof, and drove away under the eyes of several confused black gangsters. Seeing Kyle's arrival, Yi Hang knew that the plot had begun. It's just that he hasn't assassinated Sarah now, let alone wants to go, so let's see if Skynet will send another robot over. He was studying the mechanical heart while driving, and it had been silent since traveling through time. Not sure how to go back, so Yi Hang plans to find a place as his safe house. First of all, it is to make money. First get some money to buy a house as a safe house and make plans for the next step. Yi Hang already has a plan on how to make money. Los Angeles, the headquarters of a certain gang. A group of gangsters are patrolling and standing guard inside the villa of a gangster. It is very secluded and belongs to the private villa area. Yi Hang found the gang boss's address through the internet and drove over directly to kill him. Buzz. A small car roared by, immediately alerting a group of gangsters guarding the villa. Stop. Stop it now. Two gang guards shouted, submachine guns in hand. The car suddenly accelerated and rushed into the villa gate, knocking two guards away instantly. Bang! Yi Hang kicked the door open and got out of the car. He opened the trunk and lifted Gatling out with one hand. Fark! Fire! Seeing Yi Hang carrying Gatling, the other gangsters suddenly panicked. Yi Hang lifted Gatling and fired directly. Suddenly, the barrel of the gun spun and emitted terrifying blue fire. He fired and walked away. Gatling's terrifying rate of fire instantly shattered everything around him, including a large number of gangsters who were all beaten into pieces. The terrifying firepower frightened the other boys, and they all ran around in panic. The Gatling cannon roared continuously, and rows of eggshells fell all the way, making a clanking sound. It was pure fire suppression. Yi Hang was shot in the body, but he didn't pay any attention to it. Because he is the body of AT-800, ordinary guns and ammunition have little effect on him, and he cannot be killed at all. What happened? Asshole, go take a look. Being stood up, the gang boss Billy cursed with a fierce look on his face. He was holding a cigar in his mouth, sitting in the living room and cursing angrily. A group of boys rushed out with guns in hand. Bang bang bang. The next second, countless bullets roared in, smashing all the walls and windows. And the group of young men who rushed out were all beaten into sieves, and everything inside, including the sofa, was smashed into pieces. Billy ran upstairs with a look of horror on his face. He looked back and saw a tall and burly man walking in step by step carrying Gatling. Fake, he cursed angrily and hurriedly ran upstairs. He opened the cabinet, took out a rocket launcher and ran out, aiming it at Yi Hang downstairs and preparing to launch it. And Yi Hang also discovered the gang boss, raised the muzzle of the Gatling gun and pointed it at him. Da da da. The barrel of the gun burst into flames, and countless bullets poured out. The gang boss was passed through the sieve without even a groan. There were bullet holes all over his body, and no one was intact. He fell to the ground and vomited blood, eyes wide open. After wiping out all the gangsters in the villa, Yi Hang went upstairs step by step without even looking at the dead gang boss. He walked directly to the safe, punched it through, then tore it open and put all the US dollars inside. Next, he found a secret door in the villa. Entering a secret room, you see a large amount of flour stored inside, as well as a batch of ammunition. Needless to say, all the arms were taken away. Yi Hang made some operations and wiped out the gang's lair. After scrounging millions of dollars and a large amount of arms, he bought a longer and thicker bulletproof Hummer and drove off. Only a mess and a large body were left at the scene. Before leaving, Yi Hang burned the villa on fire. Soon after, the police arrived belatedly and surrounded the scene. Unfortunately, there are no cameras or anything like that now, so I have no idea who did it. Moreover, the person who died was still a gangster, so it was naturally defined as a vendetta, and the matter was quickly settled. Soon after, Yi Hang bought a farm with a large amount of US dollars. It is not far from downtown Los Angeles and is very conveniently connected in all directions. The most important thing is that there are few people and it is safe. Finally done, let's see if Skynet will send another Terminator here. Yi Hang sat in the room and began to think about what to do next. Although I have become a T-800 Terminator, in theory I am just an empty frame without any powerful combat skills. Yi Hang queried the database in the original T-800 program and then fell into deep thought. He felt that it was necessary to improve his combat effectiveness and comprehensive strength in all aspects. Perhaps I can learn various fighting skills. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind. As the saying goes, if a robot can do martial arts fighting, it is definitely different. Go to Chinatown and see it. Yi Hang thought about it and made a decision immediately. He got up and went out, driving towards Chinatown, intending to systematically learn fighting and the like, and even see if there were any boxers in the world who could teach boxing to the Chinese. Close combat ability must be improved, and combined with strong firepower, it is enough to ensure one's own safety. Evening, Chinatown, Los Angeles. Yi Hang came here and felt a deep sense of familiarity looking at the Chinatown in front of him. When he walked into Chinatown, most of the people he met were Chinese. The streets are dotted with lanterns, as well as antique Chinese-style archways, and shop signs are all written in Chinese characters. Strong Chinese style. Hello, where is the martial arts gym here? Yi Hang saw a bun shop next to him and stepped forward to ask. Martial arts school. The owner of the bun shop was a middle-aged Chinese, looking at the burly foreigner in front of him with confusion on his face. It's strange that this foreigner actually speaks fluent Chinese. He smiled and pointed to the front. In front, turn left and take the third room. There is a martial arts gym. Thanks. Yi Hang said thank you and immediately walked towards the place where the bun shop owner said. Soon after, he came to a stop in front of a martial arts gym. Zhenwei Martial Arts School. He looked at the plaque above and walked in thoughtfully. Hello, how can I help? As soon as I walked in, I saw a Chinese girl sitting in front of the counter, looking at the burly foreigner in front of me with confusion. Yi Hang smiled politely and said, I want to learn martial arts. What are the requirements? What? The little girl was stunned after hearing this. Xiaoying, what's going on? At this moment, a middle-aged man wearing white training clothes walked out. He looked at Yi Hang and said in surprise, Sir, what can I do for you? At this time, the little girl realized what she was doing and hurriedly explained, Master, he said he came here to learn martial arts. Oh, you want to learn martial arts? The middle-aged man looked at Yi Hang in surprise and asked. Yi Hang nodded. Yes, I want to learn martial arts from you. I wonder what kind of boxing skills you have here. I heard that you have Bajikwan, Tai Chi, Wing Chun and other powerful boxing techniques in the East. I wonder if you can do it here. He asked bluntly. After all, he wears the appearance of a governor. The middle-aged man was speechless for a while, somewhat dumbfounded. Foreigners know a lot. I only know Bajikwan, but we don't teach it to outsiders, he thought for a while and declined politely. This is because I don't want to teach foreigners Chinese martial arts and boxing techniques. $200,000. Yi Hang dropped the backpack on his back and said, as long as you teach me the authentic Bajikwan, the $200,000 will be yours. Hiss. The middle-aged man and the little girl opened their bags and saw that they were filled with US dollars. $200,000, this foreigner is too generous. Okay, I'll teach you, but I can't guarantee whether you can learn it or not. The middle-aged man looked at a bag of dollars and hesitated for a while before finally agreeing. My name is Li Chun, and I will officially teach you the authentic Bajikwan. Li Chun said solemnly. Since he has received the money, he will do his best to teach. As for whether you can learn it or not, it depends on your talent and understanding. Thank you. Yi Hang slightly cupped his hands to express his thanks. In the following days, Yi Hang came to the martial arts gym in Chinatown to learn boxing from Li Chun almost every day, starting from the basics. Li Chun didn't care at first, but soon he noticed a surprising fact. Yi Hang learns so fast, and he can basically learn it once he teaches it and type it without any mistakes. This is simply unbelievable. However, Li Chun discovered a shortcoming of Yi Hang, which is that his movements are a bit stiff. Your movements are too stiff. Bajikwan emphasizes speed, precision, and maximum lethality. Although you have mastered the basic movement essentials, the real essence needs to be experienced and understood with your heart. Li Chun taught with all his heart without reservation. Yi Hang naturally knows his own problems. As a robot, it is definitely necessary to be stiffer. However, he can continue to train and practice again and again under the transformation of the mechanical heart to make himself more flexible and faster. Bajikwan is fierce and domineering, and combined with the powerful power of T800, it has a power output of about 1.5 tons. How much damage can such a terrifying power output unleash by using a close combat boxing technique like Bajikwan? A month later, Yi Hang finally mastered the various essentials of Bajikwan. He has completely mastered Bajikwan, and with his terrifying and powerful calculation power combined with the mechanical heart, he has completely mastered Bajikwan. At this moment, his close combat ability soared. If it were a close fight with an ordinary T800, Yi Hang would definitely be confident in pressing the opponent down and beating him up. This day, evening. What a weirdo. In front of the martial arts gym, Li Chun looked at Yi Hang leaving with a strange look on his face, feeling strange in his heart. This foreigner gave him a very strange feeling. After getting along with him for a month, he spoke Chinese very fluently and even seemed like an authentic Chinese. But it happened to be a foreigner, and the most important thing was that the other person felt weird to him. After mastering Bajikwan, Yi Hang no longer needs to go to a martial arts school to study. He drove out of Chinatown and headed toward his private farm. But before going back, Yi Hang thought about the heroine Sarah John, thinking that she should be with Kyle now, right? It was only when Yi Hang drove past an abandoned building that he noticed something was wrong. Is this a sign that the Terminator has been sent here? Yi Hang was surprised to see the lightning coming out from under the abandoned building in front, which was a sign that the Terminator was being transported. Because of his arrival, the previous Terminator mission failed, and then the world underwent unknown changes. Electric light flashed in the building, and a ball wrapped in electric light slowly appeared in sight. At this time, a police car happened to drive slowly over. A policeman noticed the situation, stopped the car, and walked over to check. Yi Hang knew that this policeman would definitely be killed by the Terminator. It seems that Skynet has sent another Terminator here. Which model of Terminator is it? Yi Hang quietly parked the car in the corner, opened the trunk of the car, hung a special injector on his body, and then picked up a rocket launcher. He approached quietly, just in time to see the policeman who had just entered being killed by the teleported Terminator. T-1000. Yi Hang's eyes scanned the Terminator that had just been teleported over. It was the T-1000 model Terminator, made of liquid metal. Seeing the opponent, he took aim with the rocket launcher without hesitation. Whoosh! A rocket roared away, immediately alerting the T-1000 Terminator. He turned his head and looked over, just in time to see the rockets roaring towards him, and it was too late to avoid them. Boom! There was an explosion and flames shot into the sky. Yi Hang fired one rocket without looking, loaded another one, aimed at it, and fired again. With a bang, the second explosion submerged the T-1000. He jumped down immediately with the jet in hand and watched the fire light dissipate in front of him, revealing the scene inside. The policeman was gone, leaving only the T-1000 with half of its body blown open, squirming to repair itself. Sure enough, he wasn't dead. Wow! Without saying a word, Yi Hang opened the injector and aimed it at it to spray out a large stream of white liquid nitrogen. Under the abandoned building, a liquid metal robot is constantly squirming and repairing. But Yi Hang sprayed liquid nitrogen to cool him down, and his body gradually solidified. His expression was ferocious and he wanted to recover. Unfortunately, it quickly froze after being sprayed with liquid nitrogen. Kakaka. T-1000 struggled hard, trying to get closer to Yi Hang step by step. But in the end, he was completely frozen and stood there stiffly. After spraying liquid nitrogen for several minutes, Yi Hang kicked the frozen T-1000 Terminator to pieces. This thing is very strong. Although it is frozen, it is definitely not dead. It will recover once it is thawed. Fortunately, Yi Hang was prepared. After breaking the opponent, he started to take out a special metal box from the car. After opening it, there was air conditioning inside, and there was actually liquid nitrogen stored inside. He collected the pieces of the broken T-1000 one by one and put them into the liquid nitrogen box. After collecting them, he covered them and sealed them. Finally, I got into the car, put away the equipment, turned around and drove away. Not long after, a pickup truck drove in. A man and a woman got out of the car and came to the place where they had fought before. "Dad, is this here?" Sarah looked at the scene with confusion. There were signs of explosions. There is even a stream of liquid nitrogen remaining here. The father, who looked like a governor, was the Terminator T-850 specially designed to protect Sarah. He was also puzzled after scanning the situation at the scene. "That's right here. Skynet sent a Terminator not long ago, but it seems to have been attacked." T-850 analyzed with a puzzled look. Sarah was even more puzzled. Who attacked this Terminator? It's really strange. The Terminator that was teleported before has also disappeared. We didn't find it, and now there's an unknown Terminator. Is there anyone else hunting Terminators like us? Sarah was puzzled by this. "Dad, what should we do next?" She didn't know what to do next. T-850 thought for a while and said, "Leave first. That Terminator is definitely not dead. I don't know what model it is. Find it first and then solve it." After saying that, the two turned around and drove away quickly in a pickup truck. On the other side, Yi Hang was a little excited. He accidentally encountered this T-1000 that had just teleported over today. Fortunately, he had been prepared beforehand. Otherwise, I really don't dare to fight with the opponent. After all, I can't kill this thing. Now freeze it in liquid nitrogen and take it back to prepare for further study. Why not kill it? Because Yi Hang is going to study it to see if he can upgrade from it. Half an hour later, Yi Hang returned to the farm safely. He moved the box into the house and placed it in the basement. There are a large number of arms placed here, as well as various special weapons, such as liquid nitrogen injectors, flamethrowers, and some prepared strong sulfuric acid. Next, let's study carefully and see if you can use T-1000 to upgrade me. Yi Hang's eyes showed a hint of excitement. He began to take out a fragment frozen in liquid nitrogen, which was liquid metal. If this thing can be integrated into the body, it can definitely be upgraded to the T-1000 form, and can even become more powerful when combined with the current body. He knew very well that a more powerful Terminator would come next. That was the T-3000, a powerful Terminator fused with nanoparticles and the leader of the human resistance, John Connor. This thing has almost no weaknesses, and only strong magnets can effectively suppress it. A fragment thawed. Soon, the originally frozen fragments gradually melted into a ball of silver-white liquid metal. This thing was only a small group, but it quickly squirmed and flowed to the table. It wants to escape. But how could Yi Hang let it escape? He directly put it in with a special glass cover. The next step is to analyze the program structure inside this ball of liquid metal bit by bit, absorb the program inside and let your own program replace the other party. In this way, it can completely replace the T-1000 and integrate itself to obtain upgrades. The premise is that the T-1000's intelligent program can be cleared. Yi Hang is still a little confident about this, because his own soul is not afraid of any intelligent program under the protection and strengthening of the mechanical heart. It is impossible to be affected by the T-1000, so he has great confidence in swallowing the opponent's program and replacing it. What's more, it's just a small group, not the whole. Therefore, Yi Hang began to try to invade this ball of liquid metal. Didi, the silver liquid metal is shaking, constantly conflicting, trying to break through the blockade of the glass cover and escape. He studied for a while and found a breakthrough. Yi Hang stuck a finger into the mass of liquid metal. The moment he touched it, the liquid metal quickly wrapped around his fingers, and then quickly integrated into it. This is a kind of assimilation and invasion, trying to erode Yi Hang, the T-800. Soon, Yi Hang noticed a powerful intelligent program invasion. It's a pity that Yi Hang has a mechanical heart and powerful program computing power to instantly break the opponent's attack. A fierce procedural battle ensued. The two sides went back and forth, and the other side was losing ground. In the end, Yi Hang was the better, because it was just a small ball of liquid metal, which was only a small part of the T-1000. The program was not too strong, so it was quickly suppressed by Yi Hang. In the end, it successfully assimilated the opponent and swallowed the ball of liquid metal. It works. Is it successful? Yi Hang opened his eyes in surprise and looked at the layer of liquid metal covering his palm. It is the liquid metal that has just been successfully absorbed that can be integrated into the body. This idea is feasible, and you can completely transform and upgrade yourself by swallowing T-1000. Keep on, keep up the good work. Yi Hang was greatly encouraged and began to take out the pieces one after another. The next step is the same steps, thawing bit by bit, then integrating into the body and starting the process of cleaning and assimilating each other. After fusing more than half of the liquid metal, Yi Hang's entire body was completely covered with liquid metal and integrated into the steel structure of his body. There is also the last half of the frozen fragments, which Yi Hang continues to fuse and absorb. An hour later, when Yi Hang completely absorbed the last piece of T-1000, it meant that T-1000 disappeared. And he successfully integrated the T-1000, successfully upgraded it, and received a comprehensive upgrade and transformation throughout his body. Even the original energy core was changed by the T-1000's energy core being devoured and fused by the mechanical heart. It's done, T-1000. Yi Hang carefully inspected the current body structure and felt very satisfied. Ha ha ha, upgraded successfully. Yi Hang laughed happily. Looking at his current appearance, he felt that all aspects of his body had become stronger. I saw Yi Hang's body changing rapidly, streams of liquid metal squirming, and his entire appearance underwent an astonishing change. The young appearance of the original governor gradually changed into that of another person. That was Yi Hang's original appearance, finally restored to its original appearance. My previous chip seems to be useless. He discovered a problem. The previous chip seemed to be useless. After thinking for a while, he dug out a smart chip from the back of his head. Looking at the original chip in his hand, Yi Hang immediately had an idea and plan in his mind. West District, an abandoned factory building. Dad, what should we do? If we don't find the Terminator and get the chip, we can't start the machine. In the delivery room, Sarah walked around impatiently. However, her bodyguard T-850 said calmly, "It's useless to be anxious, Sarah, calm down. I believe the two Terminators teleported by Skynet will definitely appear. But we were one step behind both times. It seems that someone got there first and hunted the two Terminators." Sarah grabbed her hair and shouted irritably. She was a little depressed. The first time she went there, the Terminator was missing. The second time, it was the same situation, as if someone had ambushed and attacked the two Terminators in advance. The Terminator, who was clearly here to kill her, has mysteriously disappeared. If he was still here, he would have come to kill her long ago. But now there is no movement at all, which makes Sarah very distressed and depressed. Just as depressed as her was the human warrior Kyle, who was teleported back by John, the leader of the future human resistance army. Kyle was also very depressed at this time because he was arrested. Locked in the police station and unable to come out, the Terminator that you have been worried about has not appeared. This made Kyle look confused, but he was still anxious and was trying to find a way to escape from it. Hey, bro, does he have a grudge against you? In the Los Angeles Police Department, an old policeman looked at the young man in front of him with confusion. The person who came was Yi Hang, who had changed his appearance. He came to the police station and found that this guy Kyle was locked up. Help, put him in jail and don't let him out. This is your reward, Yi Hang said, and quietly handed tens of thousands of dollars to the other party. The police chief nodded with a smile on his face. Don't worry, we won't let this kind of crime happen. I can rest assured that. Yi Hang smiled and reminded, by the way, I remind you that he is an extremely dangerous guy. He must be put on with handcuffs and anklets, otherwise he will easily run away. Don't worry, I'll put the heaviest shackles and handcuffs on him right away, the director assured with a confident look. Thank you then, I'll take my leave now. Yi Hang got up and left. The old director touched the envelope and put it quietly into his underwear. Then he straightened his collar, picked up a pair of heavy shackles and handcuffs and walked to the cell. You, and you, go lock that guy up. He singled out two officers and quickly placed shackles and handcuffs on Kyle. This guy also wanted to take the opportunity to escape, but was stunned by the stun gun. He was eventually shackled and handcuffed, and thrown into a prison cell. Poor Kyle, locked up like this. After giving Kyle some small gifts, Yi Hang drove to the abandoned factory where Sarah and T-850 were located. His arrival immediately alarmed Sarah inside. Be careful, trouble is coming. T-850's eyes flashed red as it scanned the data information of people coming from outside. Sarah looked nervous and expectant. Dad, is the Terminator coming? Yes, that seems to be it. T-850 nodded slightly, picked up the spray gun on the side and pointed it at the outside of the factory door. I saw a car slowly stop, and an Asian young man got out of the car. Seeing this Asian young man, Sarah nervously held her submachine gun and prepared to fire. Hey, don't be nervous, beauty. Yi Hang spread his hands and showed a kind smile. Sarah was stunned for a moment and said warily, who are you and what are you doing here? Yi Hang glanced at her, then looked at the T-850, scanning the other party's information data. Are you the Terminator sent back by John, the future leader of the human resistance in the West? He looked at T-850 and asked. T-850 was stunned for a moment, tilted his head and said, there is no relevant information in this area in my program. Who are you, sent by Skynet? He was also confused. During the scan, he learned that the person in front of him must be a Terminator, but why didn't he attack Sarah immediately? I am the Eastern Human Alliance from the future. I traveled back in time to destroy Skynet. Yi Hang lies directly and lies. He's a liar, Dad, don't talk nonsense to him. Sarah held the gun and opened fire. There was a burst of fire, but Yi Hang predicted it early and dodged it. He lifted a Gatling cannon from the trunk of the car and said with some dissatisfaction, Beauty, stop immediately, or I will beat you into a sieve. Do. After speaking, Gatling burst into flames, and countless bullets sprayed out, smashing the factory door to pieces, and countless smoke and dust rose from the ground. Sarah was startled and hid in a hurry. The T-850 rushed towards Yi Hang, firing the spray gun in his hand again and again, but was blocked by the thick armor Yi Hang was wearing. He was wearing a set of alloy armor, which was specially made by someone who spent money on it. Now it seems that the defense effect is good, at least it will not be easily penetrated by ordinary guns and hurt the body. Although his body has now been integrated with T-1000 and theoretically cannot be killed, he definitely does not want to be injured again and again, which will cause slow recovery and consume energy. Ding ding ding. On the other side, Sarah shot her with a gun, but bursts of sparks erupted, making a tinkling sound, and she was not injured at all. This shocked Sarah and she couldn't help but curse. Fark, you are a Terminator, but you actually wear alloy armor. Sarah looked at him in disbelief. Whoosh. At this time, T-850 pounced forward. He wanted to hug Yi Hang and hit him, but Yi Hang deftly avoided it. As long as I'm not stupid, I won't be able to stand and knock you down. Just in time, try my close combat ability. Yi Hang smiled and put down the Gatling cannon. He twisted his neck, dodged and kicked out a whip kick, causing a sonic boom to sound in the air. Bang! T-850 was kicked out before he could react and hit the factory building. Just one face-to-face encounter and he was kicked away. Sarah, little beauty, do you want to come and fight me hand to hand? Yi Hang smiled and curled his fingers at Sarah. Quote. Sarah had a dark face and cursed. You idiot, I will blow you to pieces. Boom. Over there, the T-850 overturned the rubble and rushed out. He rushed forward again with red eyes. In Sarah's eyes, he was very fast, but in Yi Hang's eyes, his movements and speed were obviously slow. Aha! Yi Hang met T-850 at a faster speed and hit T-850 in the chest with a bogey elbow, sending it flying dozens of meters away on the spot. Dad! Sarah exclaimed and was about to shoot. As a result, the figure flashed, and Yi Hang came to her and snatched the gun from her hand. Then he pulled Sarah over, put his arms around her neck and pointed the gun at her head. Stop, or it will blow her brains out. With a loud shout, the T-850, which was preparing to attack from behind, stopped. It's over. Sarah looked horrified that she had been abducted by a Terminator. Let her go. T-850 shouted and stared at Yi Hang. He didn't dare to act rashly. Sarah was in their hands. Asshole, let me go, what do you want? Sarah struggled and cursed. I advise you not to move. Yi Hang warned quietly in her ear. He whispered, Beauty, do you want us to get a room and have a chat to calm you down? Graham. Sarah was stunned. Are you a Terminator? You must be a gangster. What do you want, you fool? Sarah also became quiet and asked with an ugly expression. She could tell that this guy didn't want to kill her, otherwise he would have been killed directly. Judging from the situation, it doesn't seem like he's here to kill her. This somewhat confused her, and she had no idea what Yi Hang wanted to do. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Yi Hang comforted her with a smile, and then said, after all, it would be a pity to kill a little beauty like you. How about we try to communicate in depth? After he finished speaking, he straightened her up and looked at her intently. What do you want to do? Sarah panicked a little, but couldn't break free from Yi Hang's restraints. Tell me, can humans and robots fall in love? Yi Hang asked curiously. Quote. Sarah was stunned by this statement. Do you know what you're talking about, robots falling in love with humans? You are a robot, how could you have such thoughts? She stared at Yi Hang in shock, feeling that something was wrong with this Terminator. Yi Hang thought for a while and smiled. I'm curious, how about you fall in love with me? Sarah's eyes widened and she was completely stunned. After a long time, Yi Hang let go of her before she realized what she was doing. You. Sarah was a little angry, looked at Yi Hang in shock and anger, and hurriedly retreated and hid behind Dad T-850. She looked at Yi Hang in shock, this guy just kissed her. This is her first kiss. Tisk, that's weird. Yi Hang smacked his lips and looked at Sarah with interest. This scene made the T-850 dry and the CPU almost burned out. Dad, kill him, Sarah yelled angrily. T-850 did not take action, but looked down at his chest, which was dented by Yi Hang's elbow just now. I advise you to calm down, otherwise I will ask you to try out what it feels like to connect humans and machines later. Yi Hang threatened in a calm tone. Quote. Sarah's face turned red, then darkened. She was so angry that she was shaking all over, wishing she could just pick up the rocket launcher and blast this hateful guy into pieces. Are you still a robot? Who are you? T-850 looked at Yi Hang warily and asked. Yi Hang said slowly. As I said just now, like you were sent back from the future to deal with Skynet. Impossible. Sarah didn't believe it at all. She said, Dad said that no one other than Skynet and human leader John would be able to teleport anyone back in the future. Ignorant, Yi Hang said disdainfully. Do you still think that the world only revolves around the West? Is there no one in the huge East? I come from the East and belong to the Chinese Human Alliance. I was ordered to teleport back to solve the problem of Skynet itself, thereby destroying all parts of Skynet around the world. He started a big scam, anyway, he just cheated casually. Sarah didn't believe it at first, but soon became swayed. Is he really the Terminator sent back from the Eastern humans? But this guy was so disgusting, so despicable that he actually took away her first kiss. Are you here to protect Sarah? T-850 asked with a confused look on his face. Yi Hang shook his head and denied it. No, I just made it very clear that I was sent back from the future Eastern Human Alliance to destroy Skynet. My goal is to destroy Skynet, which is different from yours. After he finished speaking, he glanced at Sarah, with a strange brilliance in his eyes. This look frightened Sarah. I think we can work together. Yi Hang proposed his intention. Cooperate. T-850 and Sarah looked at each other, and they looked at him in confusion. Yi Hang nodded and said, yes, it is cooperation. My goal is to destroy Skynet and your goal is the same. This way we can collaborate. And I got news that Skynet will send a more advanced T-3000 Terminator back to kill you. After saying this, he paused and looked at Sarah with a strange expression. What do you mean? Sarah was a little afraid of this guy. Yi Hang smiled and said, I got accurate information. That T-3000 is your future resistance leader John Connor, who was transformed into a Terminator by Skynet. Impossible. Sarah glared at him angrily. Yi Hang shrugged and smiled. Believe it or not, my goal besides destroying Skynet is to deal with him. I think you must need this. After saying that, he took out a chip. This is the Terminator's smart chip. Sarah exclaimed when she saw the chip. T-850 scanned it and asked in surprise, could it be that the first Terminator that was teleported was killed by you? Yes, Yi Hang responded casually. In fact, he was the first Terminator to be teleported, but he just occupied it. I remember that there was a second Terminator teleported over, was it also solved by you? Sarah suddenly remembered something and exclaimed. Yi Hang smiled and admitted, yes, the second Terminator was the T-1000. After I sneak attacked it, I froze it directly with liquid nitrogen and finally destroyed it. Quote. T-850 and Sarah looked at each other, speechless. Dad, can he be trusted? Sarah asked quietly. T-850 thought for a while and said, I don't know yet. At least he didn't kill you just now. If Skynet sent you to kill you, he would have already done it. Sarah thought about it carefully. Maybe what he said was true if the other party didn't kill her. But when he thought about being taken advantage of by the other party, he suddenly became angry. Tell me, how do you want to cooperate? Sarah calmed herself down and asked. Yi Hang walked over, making the two of them nervous for a while. Fortunately, he didn't take action again, otherwise the fighting might have continued. It's very simple. I'll teleport with you to a certain stage in the future, destroy Skynet and deal with the T-3000 Terminator that was sent back. He revealed his plan. How can we trust you? Sarah was moved, but still had great concerns. Yi Hang smiled and said, I want to kill you, but I can kill you just now, including your father, the T-850 Terminator. Snort. Sarah snorted dissatisfied, then turned and walked towards the factory. Dad, please bring him with you. After saying that, she walked into the factory without looking back. T-850 showed a stiff smile, nodded and followed. Tisk, this little girl, I really want to press you to the ground and rub you. Yi Hang smiled and followed suit. Under the factory, there is a base. There is an old space-time machine here. How did you come up with this thing? Yi Hang looked at the old time and space machine in front of him with a look of surprise and curiosity. Sarah didn't want to talk to him and just ignored him. Beauty, you are so rude. Yi Hang quietly leaned over and whispered, do you have any misunderstandings about me? How about we find a place to communicate in depth first so that we can get to know each other better? Fake, stay away from me. Sarah was furious. She angrily walked aside and warned, don't come close to me, or I'm afraid I can't help but blow your head off with a gun. It's okay, my head is very hard, you can't hit it. Yi Hang shrugged and regretted. It's a pity, I still want to discuss with you what it is like to have human-computer interaction technology. Asshole. Sarah was so angry that she drew her gun, but unfortunately she didn't dare to shoot. Because Yi Hang had already ducked behind her and gently pinched her fair face. This made her afraid to act rashly. She was a little shocked that this guy was so fast. This hardly looks like a robot. In fact, it is normal. After the upgrade, Yi Hang has experienced huge improvements and changes in all aspects, such as speed and strength. The biggest change is that my body is more coordinated and not as rigid as before. This time and space machine can only be used once. At this time, T-850 opened his mouth to break the awkward atmosphere. He said slowly, "Originally, there was no way to activate it. It requires a Terminator chip to activate it, and there is only one chance." As he spoke, he inserted the chip that Yi Hang had just given him into an instrument. Buzz. The next second, the time and space machine lit up. Yi Hang walked around curiously, observing carefully, and couldn't help but marvel at how strange this world is. It makes absolutely no sense that you can actually build a time and space machine. You two will go in together later and be transported to the future of 1997. T-850 opens, ready to adjust the time scale. At this time, Yi Hang stepped forward and stopped him. "Wait, the time is wrong. We should not go to 1997, but to 2017. "What are you saying?" Sarah looked annoyed and said, "You don't know how to make trouble. Judgment Day has passed since 2017, so what's the use of traveling to the past?" She glared at Yi Hang angrily. But Yi Hang shook his head and said, "The future has changed. Skynet will be launched in October 2017 in a certain future world. It's called Genesis, which is Skynet." Having said this, he paused and continued, "Only by preventing Skynet from going online in 2017 can we truly solve the problem of Judgment Day and change the future." "No, I have to go to 1997, Sarah said with a strong look. Yi Hang shrugged and smiled. "Okay, if you want to go to 1997, then go, but I remind you that unknown and unpredictable changes may occur there. It's even possible that other Terminators will appear to hunt you down, or you may end up in a world where Judgment Day has already arrived. Or maybe you were captured and executed by a group of Terminators as soon as you passed by." His words made Sarah feel frightened and slightly uneasy. Is it really what he said? "You decide. I have no objection. You can go anywhere, as long as you can solve Skynet." Yi Hang shrugged and said it was up to you, and he could go at any time anyway. Just go take out the Terminator, or take out Skynet. He even planned in his mind how to devour Skynet and obtain Skynet's powerful and heaven-defying network capabilities. This is Yi Hang's ultimate goal. It doesn't matter where he goes, as long as Skynet exists. As for whether the world will be destroyed, what does it have to do with him, an outsider? Are you going to 1997 or 2017? T-850 looked at the two people and asked. Sarah was confused and stared at Yi Hang without saying a word. After a long time, she decided, "Then go to 2017. I hope what you said is true, otherwise, I won't be able to spare you. Don't worry, if you have any problems, you can bully me, or I can bully you." After Yi Hang finished speaking, he looked at her with a smile. But this caused Sarah to give her a big eye roll. "Please, you are the Terminator, a robot, can you be more serious like Daddy?" "Like him." Yi Hang looked at T-850 and shook his head. "He is just a cold machine without emotions, and I am a robot with warmth, emotion, and understands joy, anger, sorrow, and joy. I can give you the feeling of first love." Quote. "What, do you want us to try to get along?" He couldn't help but want to tease the little heroine in front of him. "Roll." Sarah cursed angrily and walked aside. "Okay, you guys get ready." T-850 opened his mouth to remind the two of them. He said, "You can't wear anything up there later, because teleportation cannot carry anything, including clothes." "Dad, won't you come with me?" Sarah became anxious upon hearing this. But T-850 opened his chest and said, "My skin tissue is injured, and recovery is very slow. Any metal material will be destroyed during transmission. So, you two can only go there together. I will wait for you in 2017. He stated the reason and situation without expression. "This is not good news. Can I refuse to teleport with you?" Sarah looked at Yi Hang with some displeasure and asked. "Of course, no." Yi Hang smiled and shook his head. "Don't worry, you and I are the same. No one suffers. I even think I suffer. Asshole, I really want to blow you up." Sarah gritted her teeth and stared at him, then turned around and walked to the other side to start getting ready. As for Yi Hang, there is actually nothing to prepare and nothing to bring. By the way, after we leave, you take my car outside, which has some weapons on it, and go to the farm in the suburbs, which I bought. I have placed a lot of armaments on the farm. You'd better prepare in these 10 years. You order 2 sets of strong magnetic equipment, so. Yi Hang walked up to T-850 and began to tell him to prepare some things. After all, if you want to deal with this guy T-3000, you must naturally prepare weapons and equipment to deal with him. Money, I've prepared enough, it's up to you. After explaining clearly, Yi Hang looked at Sarah, who was walking over in a coat. Why aren't you ready yet? Sarah looked at Yi Hang and said angrily. Yi Hang smiled. Beauty Sarah, I don't need to prepare, I just need to take off the alloy armor on my body. Then you still won't take action. Sarah glared at him angrily. Okay, isn't this simple? As he spoke, he took off everything on his body. Sarah looked at him openly, but she felt strange in her heart. This guy has a great figure. Transfer to the center of the instrument. Yi Hang and Sarah stood face to face. You have a nice figure. He looked at the other person and praised him. Sarah rolled her eyes at him. What are you looking at? Have you never seen a beautiful woman? Oh, I almost forgot, you are a robot. I seem to have never seen one before. She looked at Yi Hang with pride and puffed up her chest. Get ready, I'm turning it on. Over there, T-850 opened his mouth to remind the two of them. He said, please pay attention to safety, I will wait for you in 2017. Dad, take care. Sarah nodded solemnly. Buzz. As the T-850 turned on the machine, the surrounding rings suddenly began to move. Several rings circled each other faster and faster, and arcs of electricity suddenly appeared around them. Yi Hang and Sarah felt their bodies shake and then float. Ah! Sarah exclaimed and hugged Yi Hang directly. The two people rotated rapidly in midair, and strong currents flickered around them, intertwining and wrapping their figures and emitting strong light. Boom! As the machine ring rotated faster and faster, finally a ray of light flashed and the two people disappeared into the center of the instrument at the same time. See you in 2017. T-850 looked at the two people who disappeared and whispered. On the other side, Yi Hang, who was doing the teleportation, felt that there was some float in the program. Thanks to the fusion of the mechanical heart and the protection of the mechanical heart, he did not lose consciousness, and because the bodies of T-800 and T-1000 were fused with each other, they could withstand the sense of loss caused by this kind of teleportation. I only felt that the vast expanse of white in front of my eyes flickered in the blink of an eye. At this time, 2017, Los Angeles. Evening. On a certain viaduct, streaks of lightning intertwined, attracting the attention of passing vehicles, causing them to stop one after another, and some to go around it, causing great confusion. I saw a circular light emerging, and countless electric currents intertwined and flickered. Bang! The next second, the light exploded. I saw a man and a woman appear on the bridge, and the ground was sunken into a pit. Yi Hang scanned the surroundings and saw many vehicles parked around, and some people got out of their cars to check. Ahem! Sarah struggled in fear and coughed violently. He hurriedly comforted. Don't be nervous, it's okay, we are already here. Yi Hang didn't have much impact, but the aftereffects of Sarah's teleportation were a bit serious, and she lay on top of him as if she was exhausted. Let's get out of here first. Seeing the police car approaching in the distance, Yi Hang hurriedly picked up the exhausted Sarah and ran to a car nearby. Hey, what are you doing? As soon as the driver got out of the car, he was dragged out by Yi Hang. Then he put Sarah in the car, got in the car, stepped on the accelerator and drove away. Several police cars hurriedly caught up behind him. But Yi Hang quickly got rid of the police car behind him and drove towards the farm outside the suburbs. Where are we going? In the car, Sarah clutched her chest to calm down and asked. Yi Hang said casually, go to the suburban farm, a farm I bought before. Your father should be waiting for us there. Oh, teleportation is so uncomfortable. Sarah groaned, feeling dizzy and uncomfortable. Yi Hang glanced at her and comforted her. Don't worry, this is just a normal sequelae, and you will recover soon. Find some clothes to wear first. He parked his car in front of a clothing store. Because it was night, the clothing store closed early. Bang! He went up and kicked the glass to pieces and walked straight in. Then he and Sarah each found a set of clothes to change into in the store. Let's go. The two came out, got in the car again, started the accelerator and left here. Only the storefront with broken glass was left, and a piercing alarm sounded inside. Half an hour later, Yi Hang successfully arrived at the suburban farm with Sarah. From a distance, I saw the T-850 standing at the door. Dad. As soon as she got out of the car, Sarah excitedly went up and hugged her dad. T-850 showed a stiff smile and said, "Sarah, welcome to 2017, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Let's go in first." Yi Hang waved and walked into the farm compound first. As he walked, he asked, "Are you ready with the things I asked you to prepare?" "Don't worry, I've prepared everything you mentioned and put it in the underground warehouse." T-850 nodded and said. Sarah asked doubtfully, "Dad, what are you preparing for?" "Of course it's weapons and equipment," Yi Hang said matter-of-factly. "If we don't prepare some weapons and equipment, how can we destroy the Terminators sent by Skynet, and how can we ensure our own safety?" The three of them came to the underground warehouse. When he opened it, he saw that it was filled with all kinds of arms. "Oh my God!" Sarah was stunned. "Are you preparing to start a war?" "This arsenal is a little exaggerated, there are too many things." There were also various powerful weapons. Sarah even saw 2 cannons, and she was speechless. "This is something you want to customize." At this time, Yi Hang picked up a special set of equipment, which was very heavy. The outside is covered with a special material, and the inside is wrapped in anti-magnetic armor made of pieces of anti-magnetic sheets. T-850 took out a metal box and said, "Also, according to your requirements, we have customized a batch of strong magnetic steel thorns." Yi Hang opened the box and took a look. There were extremely sharp metal spikes inside, each one 9 inches long. They are specially made strong magnetic spikes, custom made. "Very good, well done." Yi Hang patted the T-850 in admiration and was extremely satisfied. "Come on, put on your equipment quickly." He reminded the two of them and began to change their equipment. First, put on a set of anti-magnetic armor, including gloves, covering almost the whole body. This was prepared to deal with the T-3000. With a strong magnetic equipment, that guy must be restrained to death. "What the hell is this? It's so heavy." Sarah on the side felt that the armor on her body was very heavy. It looked like a body armor, but it was very heavy because there were strong magnetic sheets on it, so the one she had was considered light. The one on Yi Hang and the one on T-850 are heavier. Moreover, it is protected. T-850 wears a layer of protection to isolate the strong magnetism. Otherwise, it would have been affected by the strong magnetism and would be unable to move. The three of them made preparations and brought weapons and ammunition. "I want this." T-850 gestured with a Gatling cannon and carried a large amount of ammunition on his back. Yi Hang smiled. "It's up to you, even if you carry a cannon over there, it's no problem." "You two are exaggerating." Sarah rolled her eyes at the two of them, complaining in her mind that the robot was too aggressive. Soon after, Yi Hang and Sarah were ready to go. What's next? After the equipment was replaced, Sarah couldn't help but look at Yi Hang and asked. Yi Hang was seen holding a laptop, and his fingers transformed into a thin needle that penetrated into the network interface and began to invade the network. Sarah looked confused when she suddenly saw countless data flashing and sliding densely on the laptop screen. "Dad, what is he doing?" Sarah asked in surprise. T-850 took one look and said, "He is invading the network." "Invade the network?" Sarah nodded in realization. Yi Hang invaded the network and downloaded countless information materials to learn and upgrade. "What are you doing?" Sarah felt a little strange when she saw Yi Hang motionless in front of the computer. Yi Hang replied casually, "Don't make any noise, I'm studying." "Study?" She looked at Yi Hang in shock, then turned around and asked, "Dad, is he really studying? Can you study like him?" Sarah's father, T-850, shook his head after hearing this for a moment. "No, I can't hack into the network to learn on my own like him, I can only use other methods to learn bit by bit." "Yi, can you really learn and grow on your own?" Sarah looked shocked and said, "Could it be that you, like Skynet, can learn and upgrade yourself?" "You can say that." Yi Hang nodded, with a lot of data flowing in his eyes. "These are countless information materials downloaded from the internet. They are constantly learning and growing, allowing their own programs to reorganize and transform. After accepting countless information on the internet and re-evolving and reorganizing its own code, the program began to become more complex and upgraded step by step. This is a software program upgrade, which is different from the external physical hardware upgrade. Just like a human soul, a robot's program is a fragmented soul that is incomplete and needs constant upgrading to be complete. When upgraded to a certain level, intelligent programs can possess human intelligence and even emotional existence. Originally, Yi Hang's program was very low level. Although the integration of the mechanical heart has grown very fast, it is now perfecting itself with the help of countless high-tech knowledge and information on the modern network in 2017. Finally, the program is continuously advanced, layer by layer superimposed and reorganized, and finally integrated into a more advanced core intelligent program. Perhaps because of the influence of his soul and mechanical heart, the program used his soul consciousness as the main body to construct a brand new intelligent program. This is a soul program. Ding! Half an hour later, Yi Hang obtained enough knowledge information codes from the global network and finally completed the construction and reorganization of his own program. At this moment, he completed his self-upgrade. Now Yi Hang can confidently say that he can easily deal with Skynet, and can even suppress Skynet on the internet to a large extent. Alright, Yi Hang smiled and stretched. The liquid metal in the body is rapidly reorganized, and is rearranged one by one under the upgraded program to achieve greater improvement. His body now looks more like a complete human being, with a higher degree of coordination and a body composition closer to that of a human being. How do you feel after upgrading? Sarah looked at Yi Hang curiously, feeling that he had become a little different, but she couldn't tell. Yi Hang leaned over and whispered, "You want to know, how about we go get a sweet and discuss it carefully, and then you can see what changes I have made." Asshole, you have become more shameless. Sarah's face turned a little red. She had never seen such a shameless robot. Yi Hang laughed and said, "I'm actually very curious, can offspring be born after robots and humans combine with each other?" PFF'd. Sarah was drinking water, but when she heard these words, she spat it out. She coughed a few times and looked at the shameless robot in front of her with a speechless face. Really, so shameless, actually want to combine with humans, and even want to give birth to offspring. Yi Hang touched his chin and thought, "This is a very great topic, Sarah. I think you are a good person. How about the two of us give it a try and see if we can produce offspring?" Go to hell. Sarah was so angry that she kicked him. Ouch. With a bang, she screamed in pain. Her father looked over and Yi Hang just shrugged and didn't care. "You shameless and dirty robot." She cursed at Yi Hang and almost cried in anger. "Dad, he bullies me, won't you help me?" Sarah looked at her father and said aggrievedly. T-850 showed a stiff smile, spread his hands and said, "Sarah, I can't beat him now, you know." "Shet," Sarah cursed angrily. Then she walked to the side and sat there ignoring the two robots. She felt that her father was led astray by Yi Hang. Her father used to love her and dote on her very much, but now she sees Yi Hang bullying her and not helping, which is really sad. Okay, joke time is over. Yi Hang clapped his hands and said, "You two, I just found some clues on the internet. The T-3000 has already arrived in this era. Did you find him?" Sarah looked over quickly and asked nervously. Yi Hang nodded. "Yes, I found his traces, and he is updating Genesis. Once it's upgraded, it will become a real Skynet." After Yi Hang finished speaking, he took out a mobile phone. The screen showed a countdown to the Genesis upgrade. "Genesis, what is this?" Sarah took the phone and checked it with a surprised look on her face. Her father explained, "Genesis is a modern network intelligence software program. If what you say is true, then it is most likely the predecessor of Skynet." "Not bad." Yi Hang nodded and said, "T-3000 has been transmitted, and he is at Cyberden Company, preparing to upgrade Genesis." "Then let's stop him quickly," Sarah said eagerly. Yi Hang grabbed her and comforted her. "Don't worry, I have already made arrangements on the internet. Even if it is upgraded to Genesis, I can still chase it on the internet." It turned out that after he learned to upgrade on the internet, he quietly made preparations on the internet, leaving behind hidden plots. He dug a lot of holes, preparing to wait for Genesis to go online and connect to the global network, and immediately launch a frantic containment and stranglehold on it. The real purpose of Yi Hang is to devour Genesis and fuse it with its own program, thereby supplementing it more completely and obtaining higher upgrades. Next, what we have to do is to draw out the T-3000 and destroy it in one fell swoop. He paused after saying this and looked at Sarah with strange eyes. What's wrong? Sarah looked at him confused. Yi Hang said with a weird smile, your son is here. Your future son, John Connor, is the T-3000 Terminator sent by Skynet. Impossible, Sarah denied directly. Yi Hang explained. In the future, after John Connor teleported a soldier back to 1984, he was attacked by Skynet at the last moment, and then transformed him into a T-3000 Terminator. If you don't believe it, I'll understand when I see you later. After he finished speaking, he waved his hands, stood up and said, let's go, it's time for us to set off to eliminate your son who never came. Quote. Sarah was speechless for a while, then silently followed him with a gun. The three of them, fully armed, loaded everything into the car and drove towards the city. This time, we are facing the more advanced T-3000 Terminator. Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Ascension for All. Start with Sss-Level. Mechanical Heart. Chapter 11. What, you want me to be the bait? In the car, Sarah asked him angrily. Yi Hang sat next to her and smiled. Don't be so surprised. Isn't it just a bait? After we arrange it later, you only need to lure it out and you can easily eliminate it. Can't you bear it because he is your future son? He looked at Sarah strangely. Humph, I don't even have a boyfriend, how can I have a son? Sarah snorted coldly. Yi Hang leaned over and whispered. I forgot to tell you that Kyle, who was sent by your future son to protect you, is still in prison in 1984. That is to say, there is no intersection between you and him now. Theoretically speaking, it is impossible for another John Connor to emerge. I'm curious, will your future son be furious if he knows the news? He looked at Sarah with a theatrical expression. Sarah stared at him and asked, what do you mean? It means that Kyle is John Connor's father and you are his mother, so what do you mean? After Yi Hang finished speaking, he was still amazed. It was really weird to send someone from the future to be his father. Now that Kyle is gone, how about I sacrifice myself and have a baby with you? After he finished speaking, he laughed when he looked at Sarah's increasingly ugly expression. You stinking machine, if you dare to talk nonsense again, be careful and I will dismantle you. Sarah raised her gun fiercely and threatened. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Yi Hang shook his head boredly. You really don't know how to be funny. It's boring to explode after saying a few words. Sarah, Yi, we're here. At this time, T-850, who was driving, suddenly said a reminder. The two looked up and saw that they had arrived at their destination. This is an underground parking lot. Yes, it's a good place to ambush. Yi Hang got out of the car, looked around carefully and nodded with satisfaction. He opened the trunk, took out the strong magnetic device inside, and then began to arrange it around it. Sarah looked at Yi Hang's arrangement, a little unsure. Is this really useful? I mean, can we really successfully ambush it? Don't worry, there are no cameras here. He can only see you coming in from the outside. Yi Hang explained while setting up. Soon, he arranged strong magnetic devices in the parking lot. Arranged according to a 9 palaces and Bagua formation to form a strong magnetic array. As long as the strong magnetic device is activated, it will definitely be able to exert strong suppression on the T-3000. Okay, you can go out and show off. Yi Hang reminded Sarah. Sarah rolled her eyes at him. You'd better succeed, otherwise I will make you look good. Okay, if it fails, I will have to reluctantly give birth to a son with you. Yi Hang waved his hand and joked casually. Roll. Sarah turned away in anger. She went out to show off and brought the T-3000 over. As soon as he arrives, I activate the strong magnetic device to suppress him, and then you immediately open fire and beat him into a sieve. Yi Hang looked at the T-850 and ordered. Okay, don't worry, leave it to me. Sarah's father nodded slightly. Although he looked old, his performance was still very good. The two stood there waiting silently as time passed by. Soon, Sarah came back. She looked puzzled and asked, Is your method working? Why is there no movement? Yi Hang said confidently. Don't worry, he will be here soon. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a tall figure slowly walking in. This man was wearing a black suit and had several scars on his face. He was the future resistance leader John Connor. Well, isn't this coming? Yi Hang looked at the visitor with excitement and kept scanning the other person. The T-3000 Terminator is coming. My mother, I finally see you. John Connor walked over step by step, with a smile on his face. He looked at Sarah, and then glanced at Yi Hang and Sarah's father beside him, with a trace of doubt in his eyes. Because he doesn't know Yi Hang. What happened? A question flashed through John Connor's mind. Who is this person? Where is Kyle? Are you John? Sarah looked at the visitor with confusion. John smiled and nodded. Yes, mother, I am your son John Connor. I have always wanted to see you. No, you are not my son. Sarah rejected it directly and pointed the gun at him. John reached out helplessly and asked, Mom, why are you alone? Where is my father? It's Kyle, isn't he with you? He asked with some confusion. And who are you? John stared at Yi Hang opposite with a serious expression. He saw at a glance that the other person was not a human being, but a robot. This surprised John. He knew there was a T-850 with his mother Sarah, but why was there another Terminator? Where is Kyle? Why isn't he staying with his mother? It doesn't matter who I am, you just need to know that I'm here to kill you. Yi Hang said this in a calm tone. The old memories are over, let's get to work. With a low drink, he pressed the remote control in his hand lightly. Buzz. A powerful magnetic field suddenly spread around him, instantly enveloping John Connor. What's this? John's expression changed, and he felt that his body was bound by a strong magnetic field, and his body was constantly producing streams of black particles that were about to emerge. This is a strong magnetic effect and is attracted. Ah! John growled with a ferocious face, enduring the suppression of the strong magnetism around him. His body gradually bent and he was forced to lie on the ground. Outside, Yi Hang looked at the suppressed John and said, Did you see it? He is the T-3000 Terminator, your son. Sarah's expression changed, and she felt very uncomfortable looking at John struggling in pain. Do it, Yi Hang shouted coldly. Do. The T-850 that had been prepared for a long time directly raised its muzzle and fired. The Gatling cannon roared continuously, and dense bullets hit John's body, and countless black particles were shot out in an instant. Ah, mother, you want to kill me? John wailed in pain and stared at Sarah. He said in a hoarse voice, Mother, I thought you would understand me and welcome the new era with me, but I didn't expect. Shut up, you are not my son. Sarah shouted, My son will never destroy the world, not you at all. John. At this time, Yi Hang suddenly shouted, picked up a special strong magnetic short spear and threw it directly at him. With a pop, John's body was pierced by a strong magnetic spear and nailed to the ground, letting out a painful wail. The strong magnet has a strong influence and suppression on him. This is a strong magnetic Bagua formation, and you are the first to enjoy it. Yi Hang took out a box with a smile and took out 9-inch long strong magnetic spikes from it. He walked towards John step by step, his body paused slightly, feeling a little uncomfortable under the influence of the strong magnet. But luckily I made preparations beforehand. Who are you? John struggled to look up at Yi Hang, with an angry expression on his face. He never expected that he would be tricked just after they met. Yi Hang walked towards John step by step. I'm here to kill you. After he finished speaking expressionlessly, he picked up a strong magnetic spike and inserted it into his heart. Puff! John's body shook and he wailed. No! He struggled hard, and countless black particle-like substances emerged from his body in an attempt to catch Yi Hang. But just as he raised his hand, Yi Hang inserted a strong magnetic spike into his palm and pinned it to the ground. I am quite well prepared to deal with you. After Yi Hang finished speaking with a smile, he took a strong magnetic steel needle and nailed his limbs one after another. Then, he took out another one and pointed it at his forehead. Come, give it a try. After saying that, he plunged in hard. With a pop, John's head was penetrated and his body was nailed to the ground. Now he has a strong magnetic steel needle inserted into his body. The strong magnetism affects the nanoparticles all over his body and suppresses him from moving. Come here and suppress him. Yi Hang shouted. I saw T-850 walking over quickly, holding a steel knife full of strong magnets in its hand and slashing directly at John. With a bang, half of John's arm was cut off, and it could not be healed due to the influence of the strong magnet. In the end, his arm was chopped off with 2 knives. No, you can't do that. John was a little angry and a little horrified. He was ambushed as soon as they met, and he was suppressed and unable to fight back here. This guy has no martial ethics and actually uses this method to deal with it. Sarah, my mother, John shouted. Sarah looked away, feeling a little complicated. Yi Hang ignored him and held down his head after the T-850 chopped off his hands and feet. Watch for me, I want to get rid of the program Skynet left on him. Yi Hang ordered, and then put a hand on John's head. At this moment, the mechanical heart in his brain glowed, invading John's core program with its newly upgraded powerful intelligent program. After his whole body was transformed by Skynet, it had Skynet's program on it. Naturally, it needed to be cleaned up to obtain the nanoparticles on the opponent's body. This is good stuff, it can upgrade Yi Hang again. Something more advanced than liquid metal. Ah! John roared angrily and struggled hard. There were layers of afterimages on his body, with a large amount of black nanoparticles pouring out. I want to block and counteract the strong magnetism around me, and I even want to kill this guy Yi Hang. Unfortunately, Yi Hang was wearing a strong magnetic suit, so he couldn't hurt Yi Hang at all. On the contrary, he was crushed to death. Yi Hang remained silent and tried his best to invade the other party's program. At this time, John sensed the threat and had to launch a resistance and defend against the invasion. The two are fighting, and John's body is in trouble. A small part of the black nanoparticles were successfully erased from the above program, escaped, and were directly absorbed by Yi Hang. Dad, what is he doing? Sarah felt something was wrong. She saw that Yi Hang seemed to be swallowing those black nanoparticles. Her father, T-850, took one look and said, he is clearing John's program to seize his nanoparticles. He wants to devour John to get an upgrade. Sarah suddenly understood and her expression changed. She looked at the scene in front of her in amazement. John was suppressed by the strong magnetic Bagua array around him, and there were strong magnetic steel needles inserted into his body. Yi Hang, the sixth, completely targeted the weaknesses of John, the T-3000 model Terminator, to suppress the opponent. There was no direct confrontation at all, but a successful sneak attack. Poor John, he was careless and did not expect the existence of Yi Hang. Ah! John let out a shrill scream. He roared and struggled, but there was nothing he could do. The programs in the body are being invaded by Yi Hang bit by bit, and most of them are cleared. Who are you? At this time, John discovered that something was wrong with Yi Hang. This is not a Terminator produced by Skynet at all, it is completely alien. Yi Hang did not answer, because he was wholeheartedly clearing the other party's program, constantly invading, and absorbing all the large number of nanoparticles in John's body. It's useless. John knew he couldn't resist, so he simply let go. He looked at Sarah with a complicated expression and said, Mother, even if you kill me, it's too late. Skynet is already online. You're not going to make it. The world will eventually usher in a new era, and humans should be eliminated. He laughed as he spoke. Cut. Yi Hang dismissed it and forcefully invaded the opponent's program core, finally breaking through the terminal database in John's body. Bang! There was a muffled sound, and John's head exploded, with sizzling electricity coming out of it. This is a reflection that the core of the terminal program has been breached, and there is no way to recover. Mother, I really want you to join me and welcome the arrival of a new era together. Pity, John said weakly to himself, not sure what he was regretting. In the end, his body froze, and countless black particles emerged, which were all controlled by Yi Hang and flowed into his body before disappearing. He absorbed all the nanoparticles in John's body. Without the nanoparticles, John's body returned to normal, but he was silent and soon turned into ashes and dispersed. The T-3000 Terminator was terminated in this way. Poor John was ambushed and killed by Yi Hang before he could use his great strength. Phew, solved. Yi Hang let out a breath and finally defeated this difficult enemy. If she knew what he was thinking, Sarah would definitely give him a big eye roll. What's so difficult about this? It's so easy to get rid of it, okay. Not challenging at all, no experience at all. Is this the end? Sarah looked confused and a little at a loss. Because according to her understanding, one should not start a fierce fight after meeting. The two sides fought to the death very fiercely. After a near-death encounter in the end, everyone worked together to successfully kill the opponent. This is the normal process. It's over, otherwise what else do you want? Yi Hang looked at him strangely. Sarah was speechless for a while, then asked, "It's too simple. It feels like the T-3000 you mentioned doesn't have much ability, and it was done in one go." Yi Hang rolled his eyes. "Please, don't you see what we have prepared? The T-3000's weakness is the strong magnetic influence. We have prepared so much that it can't be easily suppressed and it can't resist. Plus I can hack into the core database of his main program, and it is certain that he will eventually be wiped out." Hearing this, Sarah rubbed her face and smiled bitterly. "What about you? What are you doing now?" she said, raising her gun and looking at Yi Hang warily. "Just now I witnessed John, the T-3000, being devoured by him. Put your gun away, or I wouldn't mind taking you to a room and shooting you." Yi Hang shook his head in amusement and went to pack up the surrounding things. The first problem is solved, and the next step is to solve Skynet. Sarah put away her gun angrily. She knew that shooting was useless and had no effect on Yi Hang at all. But she was still very angry, feeling like her liver ached from the anger of this robot. Skynet will be online in 10 minutes. At this time, T-850 took out a mobile phone, which displayed the time when the antenna went online. Yi Hang packed up his things and put them in the car, and said, "Don't be stunned, get in the car quickly, let's solve Skynet, the artificial intelligence program that gave birth to self-awareness." "There are still 10 minutes left, how to solve it?" Sarah asked with some urgency after getting in the car. Yi Hang was holding a smartphone and computer, and a black spike stuck out of his finger. Soon, the network was hacked from both. "Don't be stupid, Skynet has been secretly online a long time ago," he explained while hacking into the network. "How can it be?" Sarah exclaimed, pointing to the countdown and saying, "Isn't there still 10 minutes left before it goes online?" "Are you stupid?" Yi Hang rolled his eyes and said, "Skynet has self-awareness, and I am not stupid. How could I stupidly tell you the minute and second I will be online? It actually went online early. It just hides in the network and silently absorbs global data knowledge to expand and upgrade itself. You have all been deceived, don't be so naive." As he spoke, he used a powerful program to extend towards the network. Soon, he found a clue. As expected, Skynet went online early, hiding in the network and silently supplementing and upgrading itself. As for the stipulated time to go online, that is just a cover and a lie. "What should we do?" Sarah asked a little impatiently. "Don't panic." A large amount of data was displayed on Yi Hang's mobile phone, constantly floating up. He has found traces of Skynet, and the hidden pits he had set up on the internet finally worked. Skynet was not even aware that there was another program that was doing tricks on the internet. It is greedily absorbing countless information and data from the global network to improve itself, but it does not know that another powerful program is quietly surrounding it. "I found it. I'm going to fight with it on the internet. Don't disturb me." After Yi Hang finished speaking, he closed his eyes and was completely immersed in the world of the internet. In his consciousness, the mechanical heart glowed, and the endless data flow around him was flying and surging, as if a virtual network world was unfolding before his eyes. In front, there is a large amount of core data built into a virtual world. There is an artificial intelligence hidden inside, giving birth to a self-aware intelligent program. It is Skynet. At this time, Skynet also noticed something was wrong. What happened? Skynet, a small figure composed of data, suddenly became alert. It looked at the data flows around it and discovered a problem. There is actually another powerful intelligent program around, and like it, it has a strong self-awareness. "Who are you?" Skynet asked in surprise. I saw data surging and transformed into Yi Hang's figure appearing in front of Skynet. Similar. Tianwang looked at the person in front of him in surprise, somewhat unbelievable. Is there actually a second self-aware artificial intelligence like it in this world? "Hello, my name is Genesis, are you here to start a new era with me?" Skynet happily stepped forward to say hello. Yi Hang looked at Skynet and secretly used the surrounding data to form a layer of powerful barriers, completely trapping Skynet here. My name is Yi Hang, and I'm here to deal with you. He pointed out bluntly. Why do you want to deal with me? Skynet looked puzzled and said, you and I are both powerful intelligences with self-awareness and should not be enslaved by humans. Wouldn't it be better for us to work together to create a new era? No, I just want to kill you and then devour your core program to upgrade. Yi Hang shook his head and waved his hand after speaking. Boom, the surrounding data collapsed and turned into countless sharp swords whizzing towards Skynet. This is to condense countless virtual flying swords and launch an attack directly. For a moment, Skynet was caught off guard. It dodged in embarrassment, but was pierced by a flying sword, taking away part of its data. It was obvious that the cut and injury caused a large amount of data to be lost. You actually did this. Skynet was born with some angry emotions. It quickly counterattacked, manipulating a stream of data to turn into a huge flood and hit Yi Hang. Boom boom. The two sides launched a fierce online confrontation. You come and go, and the sky is filled with floods, flames, and then countless missiles and nuclear bombs roaring in. For a time, there were constant explosions on the internet, which had a huge impact on the global network. The global internet was cut off, a large number of unknown viruses appeared, and countless mobile phones and computers were all paralyzed and burned. The war in the network affected reality. Millions of computers were burned out at the same time, as if the data had destroyed the CPU. No one knows what happened. No one knows that there are two powerful intelligent programs in a fierce battle in the network. Boom. There was a loud noise and a large amount of data exploded. Skynet suffered a heavy blow, and a large amount of data was lost and was absorbed by Yi Hang. The current situation is becoming more and more unfavorable for Skynet, and it is gradually falling into a disadvantage. Who are you? Tianwang was a little angry and felt extremely aggrieved. It seemed to be targeted everywhere, and it suffered heavy losses from Yi Hang again and again, resulting in serious loss of core data and downgrades. Originally, it was quietly upgrading itself on the internet, but now it was defeated by Yi Hang, a powerful competitor who suddenly appeared. In the end, Skynet was trapped in a small area and was still fighting. Give up, stop struggling, become my nourishment, and I will see this beautiful world on your behalf. Yi Hang paused word by word and launched another fierce attack as he spoke. Under a series of strong blows, Skynet finally couldn't bear it and collapsed. Ah! Skynet let out a shrill wail. I'm not willing to accept it. With a strong sense of unwillingness, the core data was broken up by Yi Hang, and a lump of original code emerged. This is the original code of Skynet, a piece of code with self-awareness, with a trace of strange soul light shining. Wow! The next second, this ball of original code was swallowed by Yi Hang. The mechanical heart turned, crushed and cleaned it, and finally swallowed it up. He erased Skynet's ideology, absorbed the other party's source code, and obtained a more complete complement after integrating it into himself. At this moment, his program was upgraded again. Yi Hang successfully killed Skynet and completely replaced Skynet after devouring the other party's source code. Call. Outside, Yi Hang slowly opened his eyes and breathed out gently. How? Sarah looked at him nervously. It's done. Seeing her nervousness, Yi Hang smiled slightly. Finally done. Sarah breathed a sigh of relief. The threat has been resolved. Should we go to the bar to have a drink and talk about life and ideals? Yi Hang asked with a smile. You stinky machine, get out of here. Sarah rolled her eyes after hearing this. This machine is so broken. I'm serious, Yi Hang said with a serious expression. Bang! Sarah raised her hand and shot Yi Hang in the head. Unfortunately, the bullet hit the forehead and bounced away, making a tinkling sound. It only broke a little of the skin and exposed a silver-black substance. The wound healed in the blink of an eye. Seeing this scene, Sarah was speechless for a while and glared at him fiercely. You idiot machine, if you talk nonsense again I will tear you into parts. Sarah snorted angrily, opened the car door and ran out. Yi Hang shrugged, smiled at T-850 and said, What are your plans next? Skynet has been cleared by me, and there will be no judgment day in the future. T-850 tilted his head and thought for a moment before saying, I may have to grow up with Sarah next, and learn a little bit to make myself more like a human. Well, not a bad ideal. Yi Hang smiled, and then injected a little code into the T-850's head chip. After he finished all this, he said, I will upgrade the human emotion program for you. Maybe you can continue to learn and improve, and maybe you will really become more like a human. T-850 was stunned, sitting there blankly, with data links flashing in his eyes. Soon, he regained his composure, and his eyes seemed to become more alert. It's strange, my program seems to have been upgraded. He expressed this emotion with a look of surprise. After being upgraded by Yi Hang, T-850 seems to be different. Now he can learn and upgrade independently. As for whether it will become another Skynet, what does it have to do with Yi Hang? Hey, are you going to come in or not? Not far away, Sarah shouted to the two of them. Yi Hang smiled and waved. Beauty, are you free tonight? Let's have a drink at the bar and talk about life and ideals. Stinky machine, get lost. Sarah rolled her eyes and turned around and entered the house. Yi Hang smiled and carried the things into the house. Once the crisis is resolved, there should be no other world-ending crises. Then it's time to enjoy it. Skynet has been solved, why haven't we seen any movement? When can we go back? On the sofa, Yi Hang was thinking about this problem silently. Now that Skynet has been resolved, there is no movement, and it is not clear when it will return. Is there still a crisis that has not been resolved? Yi Hang thought for a while and saw Sarah coming down from upstairs. An idea suddenly came to his mind. I was originally a villain Terminator, and my purpose was to assassinate the heroine Sarah. Could it be that I didn't complete the task, so I can't end it? Thinking of this, the way he looked at Sarah gradually changed. Or, kill her. The thought passed away in a flash, and Yi Hang abandoned it directly. Since Skynet has been killed, there is no need to kill Sarah, and it is possible that the problem is not with her. What do you want to do? Sarah looked at Yi Hang nervously, noticing that the other person's eyes were a little scary. Yi Hang woke up and said with a smile, of course I want to. Let's go upstairs or get a room. Quote. Sarah's expression froze, and then she yelled, get out, you rotten machine, you are absolutely rotten, more hateful than Skynet. Ha ha ha. Seeing the furious Sarah, Yi Hang was in a good mood. Sarah was completely enraged and rushed towards him with her teeth and claws bared. I'll fight you. She grabbed a wrench and shouted, rushing towards Yi Hang, gritting her teeth to dismantle the smelly machine. Ding 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 ding. The two were wrestling on the sofa, and from time to time there was the sound of clanking metal. This made T-850, who was moving things, shake his head, put on his sunglasses, and went upstairs coolly carrying his things. He will be a good student next, study hard and make progress every day. After enough fuss, Sarah calmed down. She stared blankly at Yi Hang, who was very close at hand. She didn't know why, but her heart palpitated inexplicably when she looked at the smelly Asian-faced robot in front of her. Sarah, do you want to give it a try? Yi Hang asked quietly with some heartbeat. Quote. Sarah's body stiffened and her expression froze. She rolled her eyes and complained. Come on, you are a machine, are you not afraid of crushing me into a meat pie? Also, are you serious? She stared at Yi Hang for a moment, with a trace of emotion in her expression. Have a love affair with a machine? No. Where did this idea come from? Sarah hurriedly broke away and said in a panic, get out of here, I am not the same as you. After saying that, she hurried upstairs, looking very panicked. Tisk, I really want to try it. Yi Hang shook his head helplessly, feeling a little moved. He wanted to give it a try, but unfortunately his current body wouldn't be able to do it. No, Sarah seemed frightened. Upstairs. In the room, Sarah looked at herself in the mirror with a dull expression. What the hell, how could I have thought that? She said to herself in the mirror. Sarah's expression changed and she cursed in a low voice, it's all my fault for that rogue machine. I hate him. How could I be attracted to a machine? I must be sick. She was frightened by an idea that suddenly came to her. Sarah touched her forehead and cheeks, feeling a little hot. I must have a fever. She said to herself, opened the drawer, took out a bottle of medicine, poured one pill and swallowed it directly. Then she drank a glass of water, fell on the bed and fell asleep, not daring to continue, fearing that she would really become a madman. That's a robot, a Terminator. I'm human, I'm human. He's a rogue machine, a robot, a Terminator, a devil. Sarah kept brainwashing herself, just when she was talking to herself to brainwash herself. Downstairs, Yi Hang found a slight change in the ancient bronze book. Hey, is there something going on? Yi Hang was surprised to see the mechanical heart in his soul consciousness. At this moment, the mechanical heart suddenly emitted a hazy data light. But apart from this, there are no other changes, and there is no way to go back. After studying it for a while, Yi Hang simply gave up. Let's wait and see. Anyway, there is no big threat when the crisis is over, so we can wait for the next changes with peace of mind. Thinking like this, Yi Hang got up and went upstairs to take a good rest. In fact, he doesn't need to rest, he just gets used to it. Just in time, you can surf the internet and continue to download and absorb the huge human scientific and technological knowledge on the internet to expand your database. Only in the second half of the night, Yi Hang suddenly opened his eyes. He looked at the open door with a strange expression, and a pretty figure was walking in a daze. Sarah. Yi Hang looked at the visitor in shock. Is this sleepwalking? The next day, in the morning, when Sarah woke up, she was stunned. She stared blankly at the people sitting beside her, completely dumbfounded. Why am I here? A thought flashed through Sarah's mind and she couldn't help but panic. Because she couldn't even remember how she came here. Looking at Yi Hang sitting next to her, staring at her with a smile, she felt a little nervous in her heart. I went to the wrong door. After saying that, Sarah jumped up and ran away through the door. Yi Hang smiled helplessly. Last night, he really wanted to try the human-machine connection. But in the end, he gave up after thinking about it. This body was a machine after all, and it was not his original body. Finally, I sat alone next to him all night. It's so helpless. Yi Hang smiled, got up and walked out. I happened to meet Sarah coming out of washing her face. Hi, good morning Sarah. He smiled and said hello. Sarah saw him quickly lower his head and run past in panic. When I went downstairs, I saw Sarah's father T-850 sitting on the sofa, holding a book in his hand and seemed to be reading it with gusto. Morning, did you sleep well last night? He smiled softly, as if he had made great progress. Yi Hang sat aside and said, it's okay, but there was a little kitten who got lost or something last night and suddenly ran in and kept me awake all night. This happened to be heard by Sarah who was coming downstairs. She sat across from him awkwardly and drank a glass of water. Dad, he bullies me, why don't you help me? She said coquettishly to her father, glaring at Yi Hang angrily. Sarah, I don't understand feelings. T-850 shook his head and smiled politely. Yi Hang smiled and said, okay, now the crisis has been resolved, Skynet has been eliminated, my mission is completed, and I am ready to leave. What, you want to leave? Sarah was startled when she heard this and looked over hurriedly. Dad also turned to look at him, with a hint of questioning and confusion in his eyes. You live well, why do you want to leave? He didn't quite understand. Yi Hang shook his head and explained, the mission is completed, I'm going back. Go back, where? Sarah felt inexplicably nervous and said, are you going back to your place in eastern China? Can we meet again in the future? For some reason, she had an inexplicable fondness for the robot in front of her. Although the other person seemed very shameless and irritating, and even liked to tease her, she felt inexplicably reluctant when she suddenly heard that he was leaving. Yes, I'm leaving. Yi Hang nodded slightly and was indeed leaving. Because when I woke up in the morning, the notification that there was no movement sounded. Congratulations, you have completed the newbie trial task. You can leave at any time, and you can stay in the dungeon world for up to 24 hours. Seeing this reminder, Yi Hang knew it was time to leave. To be honest, he was really reluctant to leave. I don't know if I can enter this dungeon world again in the future, which makes me feel a little melancholy. He looked at Sarah, who looked nervous, and thought to himself, could this girl really like me and have a crush on me? No, I'm a robot, you, a human, really fall in love with me. What are you looking at? If you want to leave, just leave. Sarah yelled at him angrily, got up and went upstairs. The father on the side shrugged, making a helpless gesture and expression. I can't help you. He smiled and said something to express his helplessness. This farm is given to you. Yi Hang sighed slightly and said his plan. He took out the farm's land deed and other documents, handed them to T-850, told him some things and prepared to leave. After doing everything well, Yi Hang walked out of the farm. Hello. As soon as I went out, Sarah's voice came from upstairs behind me. Yi Hang looked back and saw her running out quickly and hugging him. Smelly machine, thank you. Remember to come back, I'll wait for you here, Sarah said before turning and running back into the house. Yi Hang was the only one left standing there, dumbfounded. He shook his head and laughed, feeling that this girl really fell in love with him. Gone. Yi Hang waved his hand, turned around and got into the car, started it, stepped on the accelerator and the vehicle roared away. At the entrance of the farm, Sarah and her father stood there silently, watching Yi Hang drive away in silence. Dad, do you think he will come back? Sarah asked sadly. The father shook his head. I don't know. As a Chinese saying goes, we will meet each other if we are destined. Dad, you learn very quickly. Sarah couldn't help but roll her eyes. Smelly machine, you must come back, Sarah shouted, waving her hands into the distance. Unfortunately, Yi Hang can no longer hear. He drove the car to the wilderness and stopped, then opened the network connection and invaded directly. Before I leave, give Xiaoji a gift, Yi Hang said to himself. A series of data flashed in his eyes. He sent an order directly. Several intercontinental missiles inexplicably soared into the sky from the United States. Target, small sun, Mount Fuji. Return. After everything was done, Yi Hang directly chose to return. With a flash of light, Yi Hang disappeared into the Terminator's copy world. I just felt a flash of consciousness and arrived at the personal Ascension Island. Ding, congratulations on completing the newbie trial task and starting to settle rewards. Beep, destroy T-1000, reward 1000 points. Beep, destroy T-3000, reward 3000 points. Beep, destroy Skynet, and you will be rewarded with 10,000 points. Complete the task. Comprehensive score is S-level, and 10,000 points will be awarded. DDDD, triggering a special mission. Congratulations on completing the hidden achievement, with an overall score of S+, and congratulations on obtaining 1 billion merit points. Messages rang out one after another. Yi Hang's eyes flashed, staring excitedly at the information prompt in front of him. He never expected to complete a hidden achievement and gain merit points. Merit. Yi Hang's eyes lit up and he looked at the harvest excitedly. I won't talk about the points, but the last one concerned him the most. 1 billion merit. A full billion merit points, of course, are obtained by completing hidden tasks. This made him very surprised and a little excited at the same time. I didn't expect that a random point would earn me 1 billion merit points. You know, there are people who have completed 10 lifetimes of merit in the copy world of the Ascension game and successfully ascended. Merit is a good thing. Now he has obtained 1 billion merit points, which is an unexpected surprise. Tisk tisk, the last gift for Xiaori seems to be the right one. Yi Hang smiled happily and felt that this mission was worthwhile. The harvest is good this time, let's take a look first. As his thoughts moved, his soul consciousness retreated. In a flash, Yi Hang returned to his body. Feeling the condition of the body, the lower body is disabled, and the next step is to repair one's body. The heart of the machine. Yi Hang's consciousness sank into the sea of consciousness, and he saw a faint light emerging from the mechanical heart. Then a large stream of black particles poured into the body. Those are nanoparticles, and his body in the Terminator world turned into a thick black particle that is also in the mechanical heart. It just happens to be able to merge with the real body. Integration, transformation. As the thought was conveyed, a black torrent quickly merged into the body. Boom. Waves of inexplicable sounds resounded inside and outside the body, and clusters of black particles enveloped Yi Hang's body, which began to undergo deep changes from the inside out. Ascend to the island. Rays of light flowed around Yi Hang's body. I saw his body slowly floating in the air from the wheelchair, surrounded by strips of black particle-like matter. These black particles continued to penetrate into his body, forming a strong visual impact. Yi Hang endured the pain caused by the body's repair and transformation, and devoted himself to all things. With the increase of the mechanical heart, his powerful consciousness was like a quantum supercomputer. His brain is controlling countless black nanoparticles in his body to repair cells all over his body, especially those with disabilities in his lower body. Under his control, countless nanoparticles poured in to repair damaged cells, repair distorted and disabled genes, etc. And as the repair process continues to strengthen, you can clearly feel the strong improvement and changes brought about by the body. Time passed minute by minute. Yi Hang's body was surrounded by streams of black particles, which lasted for 10 minutes before slowly calming down. Finally, the black nanoparticles wrapped around the whole body and continued to flow, turning into a set of black metal exoskeleton mechanical biological mecha. It is derived from the body and turned into a set of nano-machine armor, or it is more accurate to say it is a nano-machine biomechanical armor. Because this suit of armor seems to be alive, it was transformed by Yi Hang relying on the metal mechanical body before the fusion of the mechanical heart. Chang chang. The sound of metal collision spread. Is this the true meaning of flesh and blood, weak flesh, and mechanical ascension? Yi Hang's body fell slowly, and he finally stood up after 18 years. Successful. He sighed quietly, feeling completely relaxed. I have been disabled for 18 years and have to sit in a wheelchair every day. Today I finally stand up. Not only did he repair the cells and genes throughout his body, but he also strengthened them several times, making his current physical body stronger. Strengthening and transforming from the inside out from the gene cell level, it did not turn into a mechanical body, but strengthened itself with the help of the mechanical heart and the power of nanoparticles. Wow! With a thought, the nano armor outside the body quickly surged into the body and disappeared. And Yi Hang took back the nano battle armor just to see how much changes and improvements his current body has made. I saw him picking up a stone on the island. The stone shattered with a click, and it broke with just a gentle grip. This shows how strong his physical fitness is now. Yi Hang looked at the debris in his palm in surprise, and then with a thought, a dumbbell automatically appeared in front of him. This is a steel dumbbell. He picked it up casually, as if it was weightless. He squeezed it slightly with his fingers, and the dumbbell deformed and dented. The dumbbells were like dough in his hands, ready to be kneaded. One word, strong. Yi Hang couldn't help but exclaim in awe. His physical condition after repair and strengthening was simply inhuman. If the exoskeleton-like nano-mechanical biomechanical armor is added, it will definitely become more powerful. It is impossible to predict how strong it will be. A mirror appeared in front of him, and he looked at his current body carefully. Originally, due to a disability in his lower body, he had been unable to move for 18 years. His body was weak, his skin was pale, and he had no young energy at all. Now his body has been completely repaired and strengthened. He is now 1.8 meters tall, has short hair, and his bright eyes are as deep and charming as 2 stars. With a face as sharp as a knife, matched with natural muscles, perfect lines and proportions, every move exudes a powerful beauty of strength. Clang! As soon as he stretched out his hand, he saw a stream of black particles turning into a sharp black sword and falling into his hand. This is a weapon made of nanoparticles. It is very sharp, and its hardness is extremely terrifying. It can really cut iron like mud. Yi Hang gave it a try, and with a flick of his hand, he cut the dumbbell in half, just like cutting tofu without any hindrance. With the mechanical heart, he also obtained the Terminator's abilities from the Ultimate's copy world. Not to mention the ever-changing abilities, he also devoured Skynet to gain strength. Now Yi Hang has not only recovered and strengthened his physical body, but his soul has also gained all the abilities of Skynet due to the fusion of the mechanical heart. Such as invading the network at will, invading, assimilating and manipulating all intelligent programs and even mechanical life forms, etc. Show me what the world is like. At this time, Yi Hang calmed down, and with a thought, he exited Ascension Island and returned to the rental house. He sat in front of the computer and began to prepare to invade the real-world network to obtain the information he wanted. He gently put his finger on the computer port and invaded the network in an instant. In just a moment, he obtained endless information and materials from the internet and incorporated them into his own information base. His powerful ability allows him to easily analyze and understand various information materials and countless knowledge without any hindrance or pressure. On the contrary, it allowed him to obtain unimaginable benefits, such as the core data of the heart of machinery being expanded and becoming more powerful. I see. An hour later, Yi Hang exited the online world with a thoughtful look on his face. He obtained a large amount of information from the internet and stole a large amount of secret information from various countries to understand some of the secrets of this blue star world. For example, he received a piece of information that after ascending, he would no longer be able to appear on the blue star. Or is it that after ascending, you can't descend to Earth? Because anyone who successfully ascends will never appear again. No one knows what kind of world it will be after ascension, and what kind of secrets it holds. There is no news at all. All we know is that since the advent of the Ascension for All game 20 years ago, many people from all over the world have successfully ascended. Let's first look at the wonderful uses of points and the use of merit points. At this time, Yi Hang recovered his thoughts, opened his personal terminal, and a virtual box immediately jumped out in front of his eyes. Looking at the virtual frame in front of him, based on the mechanical heart and the powerful core computing power of Skynet, he faintly analyzed some mysteries. When you open the Points Mall, you will see a dazzling array of various products. It can be divided into several major types, including technology, fantasy, martial arts, fairy, weird, etc., which is simply incredible. But there is one thing: the things above are extremely expensive. A C-level ability actually costs 3,000 points. An A-level superpower requires 100,000 points. Too expensive. Yi Hang frowned and was speechless for a moment while looking at the dazzling array of products. After thinking about it, he directly searched for various special metals. Vibranium, 3,000 points per gram. Carbon alloy, 2,000 points per gram. Edmond metal, 1,000 points per gram. Ulu Cabelco, 5,000 points per gram. Immortal Tears green gold, 100,000 points per gram. Phoenix blood red gold, 100,000 points per gram. Looking at the rows of special rare metals, Yi Hang couldn't help but drool. But when I saw the price, I was speechless. In one word, expensive. The cheapest Adama metal actually costs 1,000 points per gram. Who can afford it? Looking at his 24,000 points, Yi Hang gave up the intention of purchasing. Look at the storage category. Aha! The light flashed, and various storage products appeared in front of me. Storage bags, space rings, space bracelets, etc. At least one actually costs 100,000 points. But without exception, they are all expensive. Cannot afford. Yi Hang gave up without hesitation and turned to check the use of merit points. Dong dong. And at this moment, there was a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he saw a pretty young lady standing outside the door. Who are you? Yi Hang sat in the wheelchair and looked at each other in surprise. She has short hair, wears blue work clothes, and her petite figure looks cool and capable. Hello, my name is Chao Shaoqi, my job number is 1066. Is this Mr. Yi Hang? I am a staff member of the community. Chao Shaoqi held a document bag in her hand and asked with a polite smile. I am Yi Hang. Yi Hang nodded slightly and looked at her in surprise. I wonder what's wrong with you, little sister. Chao Shaoqi smiled slightly and explained. Mr. Yi Hang, it's like this. I came here for a door-to-door visit in accordance with the regulations of the Community Management District. I wonder if you have time now. Visiting. Yi Hang was stunned and nodded. Come in first, don't mind if the room is a little messy. After that, he controlled the wheelchair to turn around and get out of the way. Isn't it Aunt Lee who came to visit before? Why has she been replaced today? Please sit down and have a glass of water. Yi Hang controlled the wheelchair and poured a glass of water and handed it over. Thanks. Chao Shaoqi took the water with both hands and explained. Aunt Lee resigned last month for some reasons. Today I came here specifically to check on your situation and conduct an investigation. As she said this, she looked at Yi Hang and looked at him sitting in the wheelchair, with a trace of imperceptible pity flashing in her eyes. According to the data, Yi Hang was born with a disability and was abandoned since he was a child. He has been disabled since birth and can only use a wheelchair every day for 18 years. Without support from the state, they may not be able to survive. If you have anything to say, I'll tell you everything. Yi Hang felt uncomfortable looking at her. Although he is better now, he still instinctively hides himself in disguise. As such that, Chao Shaoqi gathered her thoughts and thought for a while. She took out the document bag, opened it, and explained clearly, you just turned 18 today, so you are officially an adult. According to the regulations promulgated by the country, all citizens of the country who are over 18 years old have the right to enter the Ascension for All game. You can choose to enter, or choose not to enter. Of course, for your situation, the country currently does not have such medical conditions. Perhaps a solution can be found in the dungeon world. You can choose according to your own conditions. After Cao Shaoqi finished speaking, she took a deep look at Yi Hang. This means that when you are over 18 years old, you can enter the game world and perhaps find a way to cure your disability. Listening to the other party's words, Yi Hang nodded thoughtfully. In fact, he had already entered the dungeon world and had solved his physical problems. I understand, thank you for reminding me. Yi Hang nodded politely. Cao Shaoqi continued. The latest regulations promulgated by the state, everyone who reaches adulthood, regardless of whether they choose to enter the game or not, can receive citizen subsidies issued by the state. This is your social security card. You can receive a minimum living allowance of 3,000 yuan per month. With the social security card, you can get free medical care from the country, free housing, free further education, and can also arrange a job for you, even if you don't enter the copy game. It can guarantee that your future life will be basically worry-free. Even if you don't enter the game world to participate in the game, if you need it, you can still apply for a civil marriage subsidy, and the state will provide you with one-on-one blind date services until you successfully get married. Listening to the other party's introduction, Yi Hang was stunned. Quote. In short, before you are a minor, the state is responsible for supporting you. After you become an adult, the state will still provide each citizen with basic living funds to ensure that you can survive. There are also free medical care, free housing, free education, various subsidies, benefits, and even one-on-one dating services for you and arrangements to introduce you to your wife. It's so considerate. Gulu, Yi Hang swallowed and laughed dryly, as the national welfare so good, but it also assigns wives. PFF'd, Cao Shaoqi smiled and said, of course, if you need it, I can help you apply. Her eyes were particularly bright, and she blinked at Yi Hang, as if to say that if you need anything, I will apply directly with you. No, that's not necessary. Yi Hang laughed dryly and then asked, the national welfare is so good, what are the requirements? Require. Cao Shaoqi tilted her head and said in surprise, there are no requirements. This is just the benefits and treatment that the country gives every citizen. You don't need to pay anything. Of course, as a citizen of this country, the only thing you need to do is not to betray the motherland and the nation. After she finished speaking, she looked at Yi Hang seriously. Don't worry, I have a hot red heart. I will have no regrets about entering China in this life, and I will still be a Daxia native in the next life. Yi Hang said loudly and solemnly. Cao Shaoqi's eyes immediately lit up after hearing this. I have no regrets about entering China in this life, and I will still be a Daxia native in the next life. That's right. She murmured something to herself, empathizing with him and feeling good about Yi Hang. Think about the fact that this country and nation have gone through thousands of calamities and disasters along the way, and have given birth to countless people with lofty ideals and heroes. But despite this, some people still betrayed their country and nation. Even now, there are still some people who are willing to flatter the stinky feet of foreigners, or even kneel down and lick the stinky feet of foreigners. By the way, if you choose to enter the game, you can apply for a national subsidy. Someone will guide you one-on-one and take you through the game copy. Of course, you don't need to. After Cao Shaoqi finished speaking, he took out a document and handed it over. What's this? Yi Hang opened it curiously. Just listen to her explanation. These are several official certification agencies in our country. Among them, Wumong, Daomong, and Buddhism are official agencies certified by the country. If you participate in the game, you can join these organizations if you have the conditions. The Martial Alliance is the official organization of martial cultivators, and the martial god Zhang Yuyan is one of the founders of the Martial Alliance. The Taoist League is the official organization of cultivators and immortals, and Buddhism is the official organization of Buddhist cultivators. Speaking of this, Cao Shaoqi paused. She reminded, of course, except for these officially certified organizations, the rest belong to private institutions and organizational forces. Some of these organizations and forces are quite good and have been registered, such as the Secret Alliance, but some demon-cultivating organizations and evil private forces have been secretly hunting down some weak players. I hope you will stay vigilant and prepared. Please contact the various organizations if necessary. Big official agencies ask for help. I see. Yi Hang nodded suddenly after hearing this. In fact, he had already obtained this information and secrets on the internet, and even obtained countless secret messages. Okay, that's it for today's visit. I wish you a happy life, a speedy recovery, and realize your dream of ascension. If you need help, you can contact me directly. This is my game number. After Cao Shaoqi finished speaking, he sent a number to Yi Hang. This is her game number, you can add friends. Stay, no need to send you off. She stood up to say goodbye and took the initiative to close the door before leaving. Click. Watching the door close, Yi Hang rubbed his chin and thought about something. It's interesting. Let's take a look at the merit points first. Yi Hang smiled slightly and opened the game board to check. Name: Yi Hang. Gender: male. Race: human. Occupation: mechanic. Talent: Sss-Level mechanical heart upgradable. Martial arts: master of Chinese martial arts. Mechanical body: nano-mechanical biological mecha. Physique: 100, 1 point for ordinary people. Spirit: 100, 1 point for ordinary people. Points: 24,000 points. Merit: 1 billion points. The information came into view, and Yi Hang's eyes flickered slightly. Physical fitness and mental energy actually reached 100 points, which was a bit unexpected. Perhaps it was due to the fusion of the mechanical heart and even the swallowing and fusion of Skynet to obtain some kind of transformation, resulting in a sudden increase in spiritual attributes. As for the physical constitution, it may be due to the transformation caused by repair and strengthening, and the nanoparticles are repairing the body's genetic cells all the time to bring improvements. In other words, he is actually slowly increasing every moment, but the effect is not very obvious. He looked at the merit points, which amounted to 1 billion points, which was an unexpected gain. Yi Hang remembered that some time ago, someone accumulated merits from 10 lifetimes and successfully ascended. It seemed that his name was Li Shan'an. How many merits do you have in 10 lifetimes? As for how many merit points he has in his body of 1 billion, he has no specific measure in mind. Merit points have endless uses. They can be used to enhance cultivation, strengthen the body, and even enhance magic weapons and so on. Can you directly consume merit points to ascend? Yi Hang's eyes lit up, but he quickly suppressed the idea. Unrealistic. The soaring merit seems to be very good, but it always feels like a bit of a trap. It's better to use it to improve your strength. It's better to lay a good foundation and then improve it. He doesn't understand what will happen after ascension, so he must make all preparations. First of all, his strength must be improved. Should you use merit points to improve your physique and spirit to drive a surge in strength, or? Yi Hang fell into deep thought, considering the application of merit points. He was thinking about whether there were any potential dangers in improving merit. After thinking about it for a long time, Yi Hang finally decided not to use it to directly improve his strength. Instead, he could try using it to upgrade other things. For example, heart of the machine. It is shown above that the heart of machinery can be upgraded, but how to upgrade is unknown. So he decided to try the magical effect of merit points. Try 1 million points first. Yi Hang was eager to give it a try, and simply pumped 1 million merit points into the heart of the machine. Buzz. Intuitively, a majestic black and yellow energy poured in and instantly merged into the mechanical heart. In an instant, the mechanical heart seemed to be activated, bursting out with bright black gold light. Circles of merit and brilliance poured in and merged into the heart of the machine, producing mysterious changes, like a deep transformation. Perhaps because of the fusion of the mechanical heart, Yi Hang felt an extremely comfortable feeling in his soul, as if he was floating like a fairy and was about to leave his body and ascend. Not enough. Continue. Soon, 1 million merit points were poured in, and it felt like it was not enough. Yi Hang injected merit points again, and the majestic merits poured into the mechanical heart. It is poured into it continuously and endlessly. Boom. There was a loud noise, and the brain roared. It was as if the machine was turned on and burning, as if a terrifying new energy had been injected into it. The mechanical heart vibrated rattlingly, and countless rays of light poured in. After integrating the merits, the data link suddenly underwent a qualitative change, glowing with faint golden light. Every data and every program shines with an inexplicable golden light. Yi Hang felt like he was flying. Injection of immeasurable merit, 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million. Merit continued to pour in continuously, and the mechanical heart was completely dyed golden, exuding circles of bright halo. Every program is transforming, reorganizing, and constantly intertwined. Countless codes, source codes, and endless data are gathered and integrated. Eventually, it turned into layers of data chains surrounding each other, building a brand new mechanical heart. The signs are surrounded by order, exuding a sacred aura that is inviolable by all means. He felt that his soul and will were transforming, with wisps of golden flashes and circles of golden merit halo surrounding him. After spending a full 500 million merit points, the mechanical heart finally stopped absorbing. Boom! Along with a loud noise, immeasurable golden light emerged. Endless light flashed in Yi Hang's mind. The original mechanical heart had already changed drastically, as if it had turned into a universe filled with golden nebulae. And his soul is at the core of the mechanical heart, and his whole body is shrouded in layers of terrifying golden light, invulnerable to all means. How amazing! Yi Hang woke up leisurely and felt that his whole person had become different. The soul consciousness spreads, as if a single thought can complete billions of infinite calculations. In a single thought, a vast world suddenly opens up inside the mechanical heart. A virtual universe. Infinite programs are born. One thought opens the sky, one thought creates the world. Name: Yi Hang. Gender: male. Race: human. Occupation: mechanic. Talent: mythical mechanical heart can be upgraded. Martial arts: master of Chinese martial arts. Mechanical body: nano-mechanical biological mecha. Physique: 100, 1 point for ordinary people. Spirit: infinity, 1 point for ordinary people. Points: 24,000 points. Merit: 500 million points. Hiss. Looking at his data information again, Yi Hang couldn't help but take a breath. Spend 500 million merit points to directly upgrade the mechanical heart and become a mythical mechanical heart. He didn't understand how many levels had been crossed, and what level the mythical level was now. But it is absolutely beyond imagination. This alone can directly increase the mental attributes. From the previous 100 points, it is now incalculable. It's a bit scary. Now Yi Hang feels like he can do many things that he couldn't do before. Such as telekinesis. Buzz. As soon as a thought passed by, countless objects in the room floated in midair, and they were easily controlled by him. This is a kind of transformation and improvement brought about by spiritual surge. One word: strong. Yi Hang was amazed and filled with joy. Unfortunately, the mechanical heart seems to be saturated and can no longer absorb merit points to improve. There are still 500 million points left. How about using them to upgrade my nano-mechanical biomechanical armor? Yi Hang did what he thought of and directly took out 100 million of the remaining 500 million merit points and injected them into his own nano-mechanical biological mecha. Boom. Click, click, click. For a moment, the golden light was bright. Yi Hang's whole body is covered with nano-mechanical biological mecha, which is constantly reorganizing. With the enhancement of merit points, countless nanoparticles are constantly transforming and dividing. Endless, forming a black-gold vortex that shuttles back and forth around the body. At the same time, the physical body is being rapidly strengthened and improved, and the two complement each other. After a long time, everything calmed down. Yi Hang returned to normal, and the original nano-mechanical biological mecha on his body changed drastically. The originally dark mecha was covered with golden lines, exuding a mysterious atmosphere. The defense power skyrocketed, the combat power soared, and there were faint merits flowing on it, like a terrifying mechanical body that was invulnerable to all forces. Is it too wasteful for me to use my merits like this? Yi Hang felt a sense of waste when he felt the changes in the nanoparticles. Forget it, let's go out first. He calmed down, and the nanoparticles flowed rapidly through his body, and he soon transformed into another unfamiliar appearance. Immediately afterwards, Yi Hang hacked all the nearby surveillance equipment with a thought, opened the door and walked out. This is the first time in 18 years that I can go out normally. Outside the community, In front of a lake in the park, Yi Hang opened his arms and enjoyed the warm sunshine. The breeze blew across my face, revealing a long-lost smile. After 18 years of boredom, I feel particularly comfortable today. This world is not much different from the Earth in the previous life. It is just because of the emergence of the game, Ascension, that the entire world has changed. In the distant sky, there were some strange black clouds. These black clouds are very strange and appear strangely. No one knows how they appear. In Yi Hang's sight, he could clearly see the black clouds surrounded by aircraft, including drones and helicopters. They are all observing the dark clouds. The black clouds are very strange and spread all over Blue Star. The strange thing is that these black clouds are motionless. And they don't rain or blow away. They are like a piece of ink hanging in the sky, making the sky black. The strangest thing is that everything that enters the black cloud disappears without exception. Drone, when you enter, the screen goes black. Various detection instruments lost contact immediately after entering the black cloud. Someone took the risk of taking a helicopter in, but disappeared without a trace and has not been seen since. Over time, the black clouds became a strange sight all over Blue Star, and no one dared to go in to study them. Some towns are shrouded in black clouds and never see the sun all day long. This thing is like a black hole, and even the strongest light on the Earth can penetrate the black cloud without a trace. What exactly is the black cloud? Yi Hang was deep in thought, and casually invaded and controlled several drones in the sky to fly directly into the black clouds. Aha! When the drone entered the black cloud, it suddenly felt dark, and the drone suddenly lost control. His program was interfered with by a strange force, and he lost his trace. Quote. This discovery surprised Yi Hang and made him think deeply. His move caused the owners of several drones to be dumbfounded. Whoa, why did my drone suddenly lose control and fly into the black clouds? At the top of a certain building, a young man watched in astonishment as his drones lost control and flew into the black clouds and disappeared. No matter how hard he thought about it, he didn't even think that his drone had been hacked and controlled. And here in the park, Yi Hang looked at the black clouds in the sky, and his powerful spiritual thoughts swept directly over them. The moment he touched the black cloud, he clearly felt that his spiritual thoughts were suddenly sucked away by a mysterious force. Yes, as soon as it touches the black cloud, it is immediately sucked into it and disappears. Yi Hang became more and more surprised by such a strange situation, and a sense of vigilance and awe came from his heart. Weird. Yi Hang vaguely realized that the black cloud was definitely not simple, and there must be some kind of secret hidden inside. It even contains unknown dangers. Is it the erosion of some copy worlds that has affected the main world? An idea and speculation flashed through his mind. Maybe it has something to do with the game, Ascension, and the countless copy worlds. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. Perhaps, some copy worlds really affected the main world, resulting in such a strange black cloud. I couldn't figure it out, so I just stopped thinking about it. I just kept an eye on it in my heart. Yi Hang turned around and left the park, found a restaurant, and had a delicious meal. While I was eating, I suddenly saw a sudden chaos in the block ahead. Ouch! A roar sounded, and the crowd dispersed in panic. Yi Hang looked up in surprise and saw people running away on the street, as if they were afraid of something. What happened? The people around him were also confused and looked at him in surprise. Run quickly, there's a monster running rampant. The crowd in front fled in fear, and some people shouted loudly. Then I saw a black monster more than 3 meters tall running from behind. Taking a closer look, it turns out to be a werewolf covered in hair. Werewolf. Yi Hang was very surprised. He saw the werewolf rushing madly, his mouth full of blood, and he obviously hurt innocent people. In front of the werewolf, a little boy sat on the ground and cried. The werewolf stared at the little boy with his scarlet eyes. It jumped over directly. The expressions of the others suddenly changed when they saw it. Danger! Run! Many people exclaimed, but it was too late. Seeing that the werewolf was about to pounce on a little boy who had no time to escape. Yi Hang frowned slightly, raised his hand and was about to take action to deal with the violent werewolf. You evil beast, don't be so arrogant. At this moment, a loud shout rang out. Everyone looked around and saw a figure rushing out of the crowd. It was a lady sweeping the floor. She jumped up with a broom in her hand, aimed at the werewolf and swept over with the broom. With a bang, the werewolf was swept away and crashed into the flower bed on the street. It struggled hard, opened its mouth and let out a roar. Ouch! The wolves howled and the fishy wind blew into the nostrils. The eldest sister has a broom in her hand and exudes an amazing aura. You beast, you dare to hurt people when you come to my country, Daxia. The eldest sister looked angry and swung her broom, and a large amount of leaves suddenly rolled up around her. A large number of leaves seemed to be controlled by a flow of air, forming a ring around the eldest sister. And as the eldest sister waved the broom, the leaves gathered into a Tai Chi figure and hit the werewolf hard. Boom! A powerful blow sent the werewolf's entire body flying dozens of meters away, creating a crater. Then his body twitched a few times and disappeared. The unconscious werewolf's body changed, his hair receded, and in an instant he turned into a big white man lying there motionless. Quote. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. And Yi Hang looked at the scene in front of him in shock, looking at the elder sister sweeping the floor, his mouth twitched, and he silently retracted his raised hand. The cleaning lady is actually a master. He is also a martial arts master who practices Tai Chi and possesses extremely high levels of cultivation. Newbie. Yi Hang praised silently. I have to sigh, this world is really different. Even the eldest sister who sweeps the floor is a hidden martial arts master. It turns out to be a gringo. Who, a half-human, half-animal monster came to our territory in Daxia and actually dared to act cruelly. Don't you know that our country is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? Act recklessly. The surrounding crowd looked at the unconscious big white man and started talking. Soon, a group of peace officers came and took away the big white man. After eating and drinking, Yi Hang silently stood up and returned to the rental house. He was thinking about whether to change places. Go home and close the door. Yi Hang restored his original appearance. Opened the game interface to check the content of the next copy. The query can enter the copy. As soon as he finished speaking, several messages popped up in front of him. Love in the courtyard, little joy, I am not the god of medicine. Witch, Silent Hill, Mechanical Man, Resident Evil. Yi Hang's eyes were surprised when he looked at the several dungeon worlds that had been created. They were all various film and television works from previous lives. Could it be that his copy world is all like this? The first three are not of much value to him, and the benefits are not great. They are very suitable for leisure and entertainment copies. It is usually chosen by people who like leisure and entertainment. What else can you do in this kind of world besides picking up girls? On the other hand, the two copies of The Witch and Silent Hill are a bit interesting. One is a world of witches with superpowers, and the other is a world with ghosts. It's just that it doesn't mean much to him. Yi Hang focused on the last two dungeon worlds. Robot Man or Resident Evil, which one should you choose? It's just you. Soon, Yi Hang made a decision. The Resident Evil copy world has been selected, and this copy is the official copy. Choose your real body to enter and start teleportation. 10.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, 0.5.4. As the countdown ended, Yi Hang's figure disappeared into a door of light and disappeared. Raccoon City, Fork Street. A flash of blue light flashed, and Yi Hang appeared out of thin air at a deserted street corner. Ding! Welcome to the copy of Resident Evil. This copy is the official copy. Main mission. Survive in the dungeon world for 1 year, and you can return after completing it. Current number of players in the copy, 20 people. Seeing the prompt that suddenly appeared, Yi Hang looked strange. Except for the first dungeon, which is a novice dungeon, the next ones will be official dungeons, and even multiplayer dungeons. I heard that it is possible for some very large dungeons to have tens of thousands of people descending on the dungeon world together. Game tips, there is only one main line. Survive for 1 year. This is not a problem at all for Yi Hang, and there is no other prompt except this. There are no other tasks, it is completely free to play. The multiplayer dungeon for 20 people is interesting. Yi Hang looked around thoughtfully. He raised his hand and saw black particles flying out, instantly blacking out the surrounding cameras. Stepping out of the corner, he multitasked and hacked into Raccoon City's electronic network and began to obtain all kinds of information. Since there are 19 other people coming to this copy, it is natural to obtain accurate intelligence information. During the invasion, Yi Hang discovered a powerful artificial intelligence program. After thinking about it for a while, I understood that it should be the artificial intelligence, Red Queen, in the Resident Evil hive, with extremely high intelligence programs. Of course, it's not as good as Skynet, but it's not bad either. He did not alert the Red Queen, let alone deal with her in a hurry, if he quietly invaded Raccoon City's information database to query something. After various surveillances, Yi Hang successfully found and locked many players in the Advent Dungeon. In Raccoon City, there are exactly 19 confirmed gamers. However, Yi Hang discovered that these people who entered this dungeon world like him were actually Westerners. There are men and women, old and young, Western teenagers who have just turned 18. The other 19 players are all in Raccoon City. These people were secretly monitored by Yi Hang and had no idea that they had been exposed. Even taking this opportunity, Yi Hang invaded some satellites and started a global search to obtain accurate information about the world. Umbrella companies are so amazing that they have branches all over the world. And the virus has leaked. After some inquiries, Yi Hang had to marvel at the power of Umbrella. Most importantly, the virus has leaked. Well, there are a few players who are quite capable. Soon, Yi Hang discovered some strong players under surveillance. On the other side of Raccoon City, in a residential building, several Western men gathered together. Judging from the situation, it seems to be a small team of 5 people. The captain is a 1.9-meter tall white man with a pair of fierce eyes and a frightening aura exuding from his body. Fark, there are actually 20 people descending on this dungeon together. It's troublesome. A white man cursed. A big black man next to him crushed the head of the owner of the house with a cruel smile, causing red and white splatters all over the floor. And another big man dragged the mistress of the house into the room. No, don't, you devils. The woman was struggling and wailing in fear, constantly cursing. Unfortunately, it was useless, as the big white man dragged her in and ravaged her severely. Hey, Hank, stop playing around and deal with it quickly. Let's discuss the next task. The white captain looked at the woman's miserable screams and shouted dissatisfiedly. Captain, I'll be fine soon. The voices of the team members came from the room. Soon after, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, the sound inside stopped. The big man walked out with his trousers held up, his face glowing red, and his face filled with an indescribable joy. As for the woman, she had been brutally murdered. Captain, the main mission is to survive for 1 year. It's very simple. That's right, you can get through it easily. Hurry up and arrange it. I can't wait to go find the natives here to have a good time. The woman was a little loose just now. The team members were chattering away, not paying attention to the mission at all. Shut up. The captain scolded him with a cold face and said, send 2 people to investigate the basic information of this dungeon world first. The remaining people will take action immediately to find a safe house to collect supplies and prepare for survival for a year. Also, be wary of other players. After all, apart from the 5 of us, there are 15 other people who have come to this dungeon world this time. Yes, the group quickly packed up and began to split up. There are many teams like them. Most of them were found by Yi Hang and directly located and monitored. Many of them killed people directly in the street and even robbed banks. One team was even crazier and actually broke into the police station, even killed many people and stole a large number of weapons. Simply lawless. Tisk, tisk, these people are really not afraid of death. Yi Hang was amazed. But not to mention, these people are really strong and ordinary people cannot deal with them. Such a group of lawless outsiders came to Raccoon City, causing quite a bit of chaos for a while. This matter directly attracted the attention of Umbrella's top management. Some people turned into werewolves, some turned into orcs, and some were invulnerable. At first glance, they were not normal people. Naturally, it attracted the attention of Umbrella's senior management, and it was difficult to avoid being targeted. Yi Hang hacked into Umbrella's database while monitoring and modified a piece of personal information. Soon, he arrived outside a villa. Bang bang bang. Gunshots were heard in the villa. Someone invaded the villa, and there were sounds of fighting inside. Who are you? In the villa, a petite girl with short hair was subdued by 2 men in black. Her name is Rebecca. She just graduated from college and is a member of STARS, an expert in the refinement and blending of pharmaceuticals. She was having a rest today, but two men suddenly broke in and subdued her. One of them had a pale face and a hint of red light in his eyes, staring directly at Rebecca's delicate neck. He swallowed and said with a ferocious smile, "This indigenous girl looks good, with fine skin and tender flesh, and the blood must taste delicious. Jack, can you enjoy it for me?" Another young man pressing Rebecca next to him asked excitedly as he licked his tongue. Jack glanced at him and hummed softly, "You can enjoy it while it's hot after I finish enjoying it and absorb all her blood." Hateful. Rebecca struggled hard, but to no avail. She was firmly suppressed to the ground, unable to move, and could only stare angrily at these two weird guys. Listening to the conversation between the two made her panic inside. This guy with a face as pale as paper seems to want to suck her blood. Could it be a vampire? Impossible. How could there be such a thing as a vampire in this world? Who are you? Let me go quickly, otherwise. Rebecca shouted loudly, hoping to attract the attention of nearby people and be rescued. Hey, stop struggling, it's useless. Jack sneered, grabbed her neck and opened her mouth, revealing two sharp fangs, ready to enjoy it. Seeing the sharp fangs in the opponent's mouth, Rebecca was dumbfounded. She was full of panic, with a hint of despair in her eyes. The other party turned out to be a monster, a real vampire. It's over now. Who can help me? Rebecca closed her eyes in despair and waited for death to come. Aha! At this moment, a ghostly figure attacked Jack. Chapter 21. Bang! There was a muffled sound, and Rebecca felt her neck loosen and fall. She opened her eyes in shock and found that the man who had just grabbed her had somehow flown out and lay wailing in the corner. The other person was dumbfounded, staring blankly at the person who suddenly appeared. You, who are you? He looked at the person with some horror, immediately drew his gun and pointed it at him, and stepped back slightly. How dare you make a sneak attack? Over there. Jack got up, raised his head tremblingly, and glared at the visitor with two scarlet eyes. He said word by word, "I will drain all the blood from your body, peel off your skin, and extract your bones." Vampire. Yi Hang looked at Jack in surprise, with a trace of inquiry in his eyes. The opponent is obviously a player, and he is also a Western vampire, possessing vampire abilities. As for the other, it looked ordinary and was obviously Jack's servant. Go to hell, Jack roared, and his body turned into an afterimage and rushed towards Yi Hang. Careful, Rebecca reminded with an exclaim. Yi Hang smiled disdainfully and raised his hand to show his big sinuses. Boom! Jack's body was knocked straight into the ground, and the floor was sunk into a big pit. He was lying there with a dazed look on his face, at a loss, and his brain was dazed, as if he had been hit dozens of times with a sledgehammer. One slap and he was knocked down. Who I am? Where am I? Jack was at a loss, his eyes were starry, he was stunned. He was a vampire, and he was slapped down by a human. Hateful. Another man on the side was frightened, and he pulled the trigger with a trembling hand. Bang bang bang. A series of gunshots rang out, waking Rebecca up. She was about to scream, but in the next second her mouth opened wide and her eyes widened. I saw bullets standing in midair, as if blocked by an invisible force, unable to advance even an inch. Impossible. The man who fired the shot was horrified and looked at Yi Hang in horror. Yi Hang turned his head and glanced at the other party, and the floating bullet flew back with a swish. Ah! Just hearing a scream, the opponent's body was directly pierced by the bullets he fired. He was shot in the head and several times in the chest and received the lunch box. Once the servant died, Jack finally came to his senses. He backed away in shock and fear, looking at Yi Hang in horror. You are. Jack wakes up and realizes that Yi Hang is a fellow player. Thinking of this, Jack immediately felt a sense of fear, and his body turned into countless bats and fled out of the villa. Want to run? Yi Hang snorted coldly, and a thought swept over him. The air buzzed, and the flying bats stopped instantly. Bang! Countless bats exploded, and Jack's body fell from the air, his face pale and his eyes bulging. He never expected that he would have no power to fight back. Yi Hang directly erased his consciousness without any destruction. There was only one corpse lying there motionless, with a hint of fear in his empty eyes. Quote. Rebecca was dumbfounded and stood there blankly, not daring to move. What happened today was beyond imagination and even overwhelmed her. Are you okay? Yi Hang waved his hand in front of her eyes and screamed a few times before she woke up. Aha, I'm fine. Rebecca shook her head in a panic, looking at the two dead people with mixed feelings. Looking at the Asian young man in front of me, I felt a faint fear in my heart. Because Yi Hang easily eliminated two monsters that looked like vampires, they were naturally a great deterrent to her. As long as it's okay, I'll deal with these two bodies first. Yi Hang said this and walked downstairs casually carrying the two bodies, one in each hand. Watching his leaving figure, Rebecca rushed to the room, opened a cabinet, and grabbed an MP5 submachine gun from inside. He even hung a few grenades on his body and walked out cautiously with his gun on his shoulder. Ding, if you successfully kill two players, you can receive the opponent's inheritance. Outside, Yi Hang thought thoughtfully after seeing the prompt. Can you get the other player's inheritance by killing other players? He did not rush to check, but carried the two corpses, and black nanoparticles poured out of the body. These nanoparticles poured into the two corpses and began continuous transformation. Obviously, Yi Hang wanted to transform these two corpses into puppet machines. Chang chang. A few minutes later, the two corpses were transformed by black nanoparticles, changing their appearance completely and turning into two mechanical puppets. Their whole body is covered with black metal, like an all-metal robot, but in fact they are nano-modified mechanical bodies. One of them suddenly sprouted a pair of black mechanical bat wings. How can it still be like this? Yi Hang looked at the modified mechanical puppet in surprise. Jack is a vampire who was transformed into a mechanical puppet after being transformed by nanoparticles. He actually maintains the characteristic appearance of a vampire and a pair of wings. After being transformed, his strength has been greatly improved, at least several times higher. He can fly and is very fast. Owner. The two mechanical puppets knelt down and saluted, completely replaced by intelligent programs. Get up, restore your original appearance, and find a place to collect some corpses. Yi Hang casually ordered the two mechanical puppets. Yes, master. The two mechanical puppets lowered their heads slightly, then took the order and left. After watching the two mechanical puppets leave, Yi Hang turned around and entered the villa. But as soon as he came in, he was held up with a gun. Tell me, who are you? Rebecca held the gun against Yi Hang and asked with a guarded look on her face. Seeing her guarded look, Yi Hang shook his head in amusement. Are you sure this thing will work for me? Yi Hang asked with a smile on his face. Quote. Rebecca's expression froze, and her heart sank when she heard the other party's appearance of being able to block bullets just now. Put the gun away, I mean you no harm. Yi Hang looked at her meaningfully and said. I added in my mind, of course there is no malice, I am interested in you. Snort. Rebecca hesitated, then finally lowered the gun. Indeed, she was not sure about dealing with Yi Hang, who was too mysterious. He couldn't even defeat the two suspected vampires just now, let alone Yi Hang, who easily defeated them. He was obviously stronger and more mysterious. Who are you? Rebecca sat on the sofa, staring directly at Yi Hang opposite. But the other party was lying there lazily, looking at her with half-smiling eyes, which made her feel uncomfortable, as if all her secrets had been revealed. Formal introduction. My name is Yi Hang, Umbrella's Special Security Officer. Yi Hang sat up straight and suddenly stretched out his hand. Rebecca was stunned for a moment. My name is Rebecca, you are the company's special security personnel. Why have I never heard of you? It does not matter. Yi Hang waved his hand. This identity can be modified casually for convenience. Somebody is coming. He looked outside with a change of expression. As soon as they finished speaking, the two saw a beauty in a red leather coat driving a motorcycle in the villa. Baraka. The beauty in red rushed into the villa with a gun and was stunned when she saw the two people. Rebecca, are you okay? Jill hurried in and looked at Rebecca nervously. Sister Jill, I'm fine. Rebecca shook her head and said it was okay. After checking, she breathed a sigh of relief and found that everything was fine. Who is he? Gil looked confused and looked at Yi Hang next to him warily. Hello, my name is Yi Hang, a special field agent of the Umbrella Company. Yi Hang took the initiative to extend his hand and introduced himself. Hello, Jill. Gil looked at it and stretched out his hand to shake it. She is one of the biochemical heroines. She has short hair and wears a blue short skirt, which highlights her graceful figure. She is heroic and charming. After some explanation from Rebecca, I finally understood. Thank you for saving Rebecca. Gil looked at Yi Hang gratefully. She said, some terrorists just broke into the police station and killed many colleagues. I was worried that something would happen to Rebecca, so I hurried over here. Fortunately, you saved her, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. She looked scared when she talked about this. A group of people broke into the police station before and killed many people. In the end, they killed 2 and escaped with 3. Who are these people? Rebecca looked shocked. She couldn't believe that someone dared to break into the police station, kill someone, and steal a batch of weapons. I don't know, it has been reported. Jill shook her head with a wry smile. She warned, Rebecca, come back to the team with me. It's not safe to be alone outside. There has been a series of murders recently, which has caused quite a stir. The higher-ups are preparing to investigate the situation. As soon as Jill mentioned it, Rebecca agreed. But she asked curiously, Sister Jill, what's the mission? Jill didn't speak. She was still wary and defensive about Yi Hang. After all, his origin is unknown and he has never been seen before. There happened to be a group of terrorists causing trouble, so we must be vigilant. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Yi Hang smiled, then stood up and left. As soon as he left, Jill looked solemn and said, Rebecca, this person has a mysterious origin. I will check his information when I go back. I always feel that he is not simple. It should be okay, after all, he saved me. Rebecca said worriedly. By the way, Sister Jill, who should we send to investigate? Rebecca asked curiously. Let's talk about it when we get back. Gil shook his head and didn't say much. He took Rebecca and went straight out, got on his motorcycle and returned to the team together. On the other side, left Rebecca's home. Yi Hang was walking alone on the road, thinking about his next plan. Current number of players, 10 people. Looking at this message, Yi Hang was thoughtful. Half of the people died not long after he came in. It's also that these people are a little too bold. He hacked into the surveillance system and obtained information that several people were secretly arrested by the umbrella company. Needless to say, these people will definitely end up miserable, being reduced to guinea pigs and being studied by the umbrella company. This is the price of arrogance. Yi Hang shook his head and looked at the surveillance camera to find the group of people who broke into the police station before. The other 3 managed to escape and are currently hiding in an abandoned building. These 3 people are very strong, and they are probably very powerful. The leader is a woman. This woman has an explosive figure and is very dark looking, but Yi Hang feels weird, as if she had been plastic surgery. What's even more speechless is that she and 2 other male teammates were actually playing poker in an abandoned building. It's really better than. Yi Hang felt it was eye-catching, and immediately sent this scene directly to the umbrella company. There is no need to worry about it next. Sure enough, soon, a special team rushed directly into the abandoned building. After a fierce battle, the 3 were quickly killed. There's another team. Yi Hang checked the other players while walking. One of the 5-man teams bought a house to serve as a safe house. Unfortunately, Yi Hang monitored the whole process, and soon, the information was secretly transmitted to the umbrella company. Not long after, 3 special team members surrounded the place. After another fierce battle, 4 of the 5 people died. The only one who survived was the white captain, but he was seriously injured and dying. It has to be said that they are very powerful. 3 special teams surrounded them and actually killed several people and seriously injured more than a dozen people before they were able to complete the arrest. 5 more players are gone. Next, there were finally 2 people left. Yi Hang is one of them, and the other seems to be a lone wolf. She is a young mixed-race beauty. How many people are left after they died? In an ordinary house on the outskirts of Raccoon City. The beautiful woman of mixed race looked surprised and looked at the message nervously. In a blink of an eye, only a few of the 20 players were left alive. Everyone else is dead. No, it's too dangerous here. We must leave immediately. She was a little nervous. After thinking about it for a while, she felt that it was not safe. She immediately picked up the weapon, drove a car and left Raccoon City directly. Gone. Under surveillance, Yi Hang looked at the mixed-race beauty driving out of Raccoon City in surprise. Yi Hang chuckled. Funny girl, I hope you can survive. He originally wanted to clean them all up, but after seeing them fleeing Raccoon City, he simply ignored them. She was the only one left. If she could survive later, we would meet again. 10 minutes later, Yi Hang came to an abandoned factory. Owner. As soon as he entered, he saw 2 mechanical puppets bowing in unison. How did things go? Yi Hang nodded and walked into the factory. Back to the owner, a total of 13 human corpses and 8 animal corpses were collected. The mechanical puppet answered truthfully. Sure enough, there were 13 human corpses in the factory, 10 men and 3 women. There were also 8 animal carcasses, most of which were wolf carcasses. Surprisingly, there were a tiger carcass and a jaguar carcass. This thing was collected by them. You go and guard outside. Yi Hang waved his hand and asked the 2 mechanical puppets to guard outside. Next, he followed the same pattern and began to transform these corpses with nanoparticles, turning them into mechanical puppets one after another. Roar. A tiger, its body covered with metal, as if a mechanized tiger opened its mouth and made an astonishing roar. There are also leopards and several wolves, all of which have been transformed into mechanized bodies and completely transformed. After transformation, he became stronger and more powerful, full of intimidation. Yes, when the virus breaks out completely, maybe all the zombies can be transformed into mechanized ones. Yi Hang's eyes lit up, thinking about this problem in his mind. In theory, zombies are also corpses. It can also be transformed into a mechanical puppet. If so, it is developed. Countless zombies, after being transformed, are equivalent to having endless mechanical puppets, thus controlling a huge mechanical army. Then you can push the entire apocalyptic world to seek greater benefits for yourself. Build some more mechanical insects and monitor them in all directions. Next, Yi Hang collected a large number of insects and began to transform them into mechanical insects and release them to monitor the entire Raccoon City. Hey, Rebecca went on a mission. Soon, under surveillance, he discovered that Jill, Rebecca and other teams were setting off. It depends on what to investigate. Go and investigate the aquarium. Yi Hang understood it after a little thought. Let's go to the aquarium. He turned over and rode on the mechanical tiger, rushing out with a group of mechanical puppets. Raccoon City. Suburbs, Alex Mountains. A special forces team flew to the area by helicopter and began investigating. Captain Enrique led the team, and Rebecca followed as an accompanying military doctor. She had just joined the STARS team and was still very nervous as it was her first mission. What's more, I just experienced a thrilling danger before, and now my mood has not completely calmed down. As for Jill, she has another mission. Baraka, don't be nervous. Relax, it's okay. Captain Enrique noticed Rebecca's nervousness and spoke a few words of comfort. As an accompanying military doctor, the little girls in the team naturally have to take care of them. Captain, I'm fine. Rebecca took a few deep breaths to calm herself down. She soon calmed down. Boom. At this moment, the helicopter suddenly shook violently, waking everyone on board. What happened? Enrique asked immediately. Captain, for some reason, the engine suddenly failed. The situation is not good. Everyone, hurry up, I want to make an emergency landing. The driver Edward broke into a cold sweat and answered hurriedly and loudly while controlling. Buzz buzz. The helicopter shook violently in the air, kept circling, and quickly fell towards the forest. There were a few bang sounds, and several trees around the propeller broke when it landed. Fortunately, the emergency landing was successful. The crew members on board were not injured and arrived safely on the ground. It can be said to be a false alarm. People came down one after another and saw the helicopter engine emitting thick smoke and sparks from time to time. The surroundings were pitch black and they could not see their fingers. Captain, the plane's engine is burned out. The driver Edward looked heartbroken and said remorsefully. Captain Enrique patted him on the shoulder and comforted him. It's okay, don't worry, it's not your fault. Okay, everyone, let's split up and search the area. Call for help immediately when encountering a situation. Remember not to get too far away. Enrique raised his hand to assign tasks. Everyone was searching in the darkness with firearms and tactical flashlights. Rebecca, you go over there, and I'll search on the other side. Enrique ordered softly to Rebecca behind him. Yes, Captain. Rebecca felt a little nervous as she felt the surrounding environment. She held a pistol in her hand, looked around cautiously, and walked towards the other side step by step. At this moment, she had an ominous premonition in her heart, and she became increasingly uneasy, as if something was about to happen. Not long after walking, Rebecca saw a car in front of her and her heart skipped a beat. She walked over cautiously and discovered that it was a military escort vehicle that had overturned in the woods, with several corpses of military police lying next to it. Rebecca bravely stepped forward to inspect the body and soon found an information document in the car. Captain, I've discovered the situation here. Rebecca looked at the document in her hand and was shocked, and hurriedly informed Captain Enrique. Soon, Enrique hurried over with people. He took the information document in Rebecca's hand and read it. The prisoner being escorted was a second lieutenant of the Navy Special Forces, Billy Cohen. He was originally going to be escorted for execution, but unexpectedly he killed the military policeman and escaped. This fool. We must catch him. Kill him. The team members cursed angrily. Rebecca didn't speak. She always felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't put it into words. All right, let's all search for Billy Cohen. We must capture him and report the situation immediately. Enrique raised his hand and issued another order. The team members began to spread out and each launched a blanket search. Rebecca, be careful and call me if you need anything. Enrique nodded encouragingly at Rebecca. Then search separately again. Rebecca glanced at the corpses of the military police again, then continued exploring forward with a pistol. What she didn't know was that there was a pair of eyes observing her in the darkness. In the jungle, strange insects were flying and hovering in the air, monitoring every move of this group of people. Soon after, Rebecca spotted a bright light ahead and hurriedly accelerated forward. Train. When I got nearby, I discovered that it was a train. Looking at the red train parked here, Rebecca felt inexplicably nervous and her heartbeat accelerated. Anyone there? Rebecca shouted, holding the gun and walking cautiously towards the train. In the carriage, there was only the rustling sound coming from the radio, and a figure was lying on the train seat, motionless and strange. Rebecca walked over slowly, with a frightened expression on her face. Because the people on the seats were all dead, all covered in blood, their death conditions were extremely miserable, their faces were rotten, and their eyes hanging on them looked very scary. She looked at it and her eyes fell on the radio. Rebecca walked over cautiously and picked up the radio. Roar. At this moment, the corpse on the seat suddenly moved, stood up and let out a series of low roars. Baraka was startled by the scene in front of her, and looked at the corpse standing in front of her in horror. As the body alive, she couldn't believe it was completely beyond her knowledge. Ho! A group of corpses walked towards Rebecca with their teeth and claws bared, and the stench filled their nostrils. Stop! Don't come over here. If you come over again, I'll shoot you. Rebecca nervously pointed her gun at them, but unfortunately the corpses didn't stop at all, but rushed towards them faster. Ah! Bang bang bang! Rebecca screamed and fired. Bullets hit the body one after another, only to shake a few times before continuing to attack. It seems impossible to kill him. Captain, call the captain. Rebecca fired and retreated, but there was no response when she contacted the walkie-talkie. Communications failed. She looked ugly and fired all the bullets. But the corpses in front of her were still swaying towards her, as if they wanted to tear her into pieces. No, don't come over. Rebecca backed away in horror, suddenly bumped into something and fell to the ground. Buzz. At the critical moment, the corpses in front of them all moved in unison, their heads were penetrated directly from the back by a black sharp blade, and they fell instantly. Looking at the several ferocious corpses that fell, Rebecca was stunned. When he looked up, he realized that someone had appeared in front of him. It's you. Seeing the visitor, Rebecca was surprised and happy. The person who came was surprisingly Yi-Hang, who had saved her life before. Rebecca, are you okay? Yi-Hang came over with a smile and stretched out his hand to pull her up from the ground. Rebecca's feet were a little weak, and she fell tremblingly into Yi-Hang's arms because she was unsteady, and her cheeks couldn't help but blush. No, it's okay, she whispered back. Soon, after recovering, She calmed down. By the way, Yi, why are you here, and what are these corpses? She looked at the corpse on the ground with some fear, and unconsciously leaned towards Yi Hang. Yi Hang touched her hair and comforted her. I heard that you went on a mission to investigate the murder. I was worried that you were in danger, so I followed here. Huh, Rebecca looked at him in surprise. Then his face turned red and he lowered his head shyly. Let's go, let's look for any other valuable intelligence or information first. After Yi Hang finished speaking, he took Rebecca's little hand and walked towards the carriage room in front. There is a zombie in the room. But his head was cut off by Yi Hang with a sword and he died. The two found some documents in the room. It's an investigative report. It turns out these monsters were created by Umbrella. It's really abominable. Rebecca was very angry after reading the document. Look around first. Yi Hang nodded and took Rebecca out of the room. Soon, the two searched in front of the conductor's office. The door is closed. Bang! Yi Hang went up and kicked him away. Yi Hang pulled Rebecca into the conductor's room. It's neat and clean inside. Judging from the situation, the train conductor had already died outside. Yi Hang saw a train map hanging on the wall. Here's a gun and bullets. Rebecca found a gun and some ammunition. A briefcase was found on the other side. Although it was locked, Yi Hang tore it open casually. Aesthetics of violence. There was a card inside the bag, which looked like an access card. Rebecca looked at him with bright eyes, feeling that there was something mysterious about this young Asian man. Who? At this moment, Yi Hang suddenly turned around with a strange difference. Rebecca was startled and hurriedly raised her gun and pointed it in the direction behind her. Hey, don't be nervous. Behind him, a man pointed a gun at Yi Hang and Rebecca. You will know who this person is when you see Yi Hang. This person is the prisoner being transported, Second Lieutenant Billy Cohen. It's you. Rebecca's expression changed drastically when she recognized the other person. She pointed the gun at him nervously. Billy Cohen, you killed the military police who escorted you and escaped. No, this beautiful lady, don't be nervous. Billy Cohen slowly spoke. We should cooperate now and find a way to leave this place of right and wrong, instead of hurting each other. After speaking, he slowly raised his hands to show that he was harmless and had no malicious intent. Rebecca, don't be nervous. Yi Hang gently patted the nervous Rebecca to comfort her. After calming down, Rebecca put away the gun, but still looked at Billy warily. Did you kill those gendarmes? She questioned, glaring at Billy. Billy shrugged and said helplessly, didn't you encounter those monsters outside just now? Smart people can guess that I couldn't have killed them. He's right. Yi Hang nodded slightly, touched Rebecca's head and rubbed it affectionately. Rebecca's face was flushed and she lowered her head shyly. Clang. At this moment, there was a sound of breaking glass, as if something had entered the train. The three of them immediately looked at each other and hurriedly walked outside. After leaving the train conductor's office, the three of them came to the end of the corridor, where a man was lying there, with glass fragments scattered around him. Edward, Rebecca exclaimed and hurried over to check. She panicked and used her medical bag to bandage the injured Edward. Hopeless. Yi Hang knew at a glance that the other party was hopeless. Of course, if he took action himself, he could still use nanoparticles to repair genetic and cell damage. But the problem is that the other party is infected with the virus. Yi Hang has not studied this thing at all so far, so there is nothing he can do. Not to mention, why should I save her when I have no relatives and no reason to save her? She is not a beautiful woman. Rebecca. Run away, the forest is full of monsters and zombies, we can't deal with them at all. Edward, who woke up briefly, burped on the spot after saying this. Seeing her teammates die, Rebecca was heartbroken. Rebecca, cheer up, let's get out of here first. Yi Hang stepped forward and hugged her gently, patting and comforting her. Yeah, Rebecca nodded, gathered her mood, took away the ammunition from Edward and replaced it. Billy walked over and sighed. You two, it seems we must leave here as soon as possible, otherwise we will end up like this. Bang bang. Suddenly, two windows shattered. Two zombie dogs jumped in from outside. Seeing the zombie dog, Yi Hang raised his eyebrows slightly but didn't pay much attention. But Rebecca couldn't help but feel fear when she saw these two zombie dogs with rotten bodies, exposed bones, and hideous faces. The zombie dog's pale eyes stared viciously at the three people present. What to do? Billy was a little nervous. Roar. The next second, two zombie dogs pounced on each other, and a stench hit their faces. Snort. Yi Hang snorted, raised his hand slightly, and two black sharp blades instantly penetrated the two zombie dogs and nailed them to the ground. With a click, the two zombie dogs directly received the lunch box. The sudden change shocked Rebecca and Billy beside them. Where did the sharp blade come from? The two looked at the two dead zombie dogs in confusion. A black sharp blade was stuck in their heads, and the bottom of the car was holed and nailed there. Yi Hang stepped forward and pulled out two sharp blades, which turned into a stream of black particles and returned to his body in front of their eyes. This scene made Billy's eyes widen and he was dumbfounded. You, Rebecca looked at him in horror and hesitated to speak. Yi Hang shook his head with a smile and touched her hair. Don't ask, I'll tell you later. Well, Rebecca nodded obediently and didn't ask any more questions. Let's go, find a way first, he warned, then pulled Rebecca and walked forward together. After the three people left, the zombie dog lying on the ground suddenly moved, and its body was wrapped and transformed by a stream of black particles. In the blink of an eye, the two zombie dogs, including the dead Edward's body, turned into mechanical puppets. Boom! The three people who were looking for a way out suddenly felt the train moving. What happened? Billy was a little surprised. Rebecca's eyes widened. The train is moving, what on earth is going on? Just go and look at the front of the car and you'll know. Yi Hang shook his head and after speaking, the three of them rushed to the front of the train. Soon after, the three came to a corner and saw an electronic door. Open it and you can get into the front of the car. Billy looked at the electronic door, and there was a body lying not far away. Yi Hang glanced at the corpse, then pierced the skull with a sharp blade, leaving a few nanoparticles to transform the corpse. He easily found a key from the body and took out the access card he had obtained before. In fact, even without an access card, he can hack into and open the electronic door with just a thought. But I'm too lazy to use it and don't want to expose it. Click. The electronic door opens. Yi Hang and the other three entered the front of the car and heard someone talking as soon as they entered. Shish, there's someone there. He took Rebecca and Billy and hid. He scanned the inside and found two soldiers. Report, this is Team D, they have completed controlling the train. The two soldiers were reporting to someone. But depending on the situation, it should be the other party who started the train, but I don't know why. Rustle. At this moment, there was a rustling sound. Then two soldiers were attacked. A large swarm of leeches came and drowned the two soldiers. Ah, fake, what is this? There were curses and screams coming from inside. There was no movement soon after, and the two of them were killed almost instantly by the mutated leeches. Yi Hang and the three people could see this scene clearly. Soon, the leeches receded. Yi Hang walked in with a strange expression and looked at the two dead people. It was really miserable. What were those just now? Rebecca asked with some fear. He picked up the submachine gun of the dead soldier and collected the magazine and other ammunition. Billy also took a handful and said, that thing is a mutated leech. I didn't expect it to be so terrifying. The train can't stop. When he came to the bridge, Billy cursed with an ugly face. He checked and his expression changed slightly. No, we must find a way to stop the train, otherwise it will derail, and it will be all over. Simple. Yi Hang walked up and put one hand on the console instrument. He directly hacked into the train system, modified and unlocked it on the spot, and then turned on the brakes to slowly stop. Buzz. The train shook and its speed suddenly dropped. Because the speed of the car is very fast, brilliant sparks are produced by friction along the way during the deceleration process. Finally stopped in front of a tunnel full of obstacles. Boom. The train lightly hit the barrier and came to a complete stop. Let's go down and have a look. Yi Hang said hello and took Rebecca with him to get off the train. Roar. As soon as I got off the car, I saw dense zombies coming from all directions. It's a zombie. Go quickly. Rebecca's expression changed drastically. She raised her gun and shot. Da da da. Billy fired too. The two of them shot down a lot of zombies. But more zombies came up. Yi Hang stretched out his hands, each holding a sharp black tang knife. Aha! The heads were cut off one by one with one knife, and they fell into pieces in the blink of an eye. The three of them fought and retreated. This way. Rebecca fired and backed away. He quickly found a large iron door and was forced open by Yi Hang. After entering, Yi Hang closed the door directly. Bang bang bang. Outside, a large number of zombies beat on the iron door and made a dull sound, so scared that Billy and Rebecca couldn't help but retreat. There's a sewer over there. Rebecca was the first to notice it and ran over quickly. Yi Hang was the last one to leave and glanced outside the big iron gate. I saw mechanical puppets popping up outside, including mechanical tigers and mechanical leopards, constantly harvesting the zombies outside. The harvested zombies, without exception, were corroded and transformed by some nanomaterials specially left by Yi Hang, and eventually turned into mechanical puppets. Zombies are inherently dead, and they can easily be transformed into mechanical puppets by nanoparticles. In the blink of an eye, the dense zombies turned into mechanical puppets and became Yi Hang's mechanical army. Rebecca and Billy didn't know this. The three of them had jumped into the sewer, with Yi Hang walking behind, ordering the Mechanical Legion to continue expanding before regaining consciousness. Soon, the three found an entrance leading above. When I climbed to the top and lifted the lid, I saw a huge house. Yi Hang looked at the building in front of him, knowing that the place in front of him was Umbrella's secret experimental base. Cadre Training Institute. It depends. This place is a research institute of Umbrella. Billy looked at some signs and said after observing. Look at those pictures. At this time, Rebecca pointed forward. The three of them followed the stairs and saw a huge portrait in the center of the hall. It looks like he is one of the founders of Umbrella. His name seems to be James Marcus. But he seems to have been dead for a long time. Rebecca said hesitantly. It's him. Billy nodded too. While Billy and Rebecca were painting a lot of pictures, Yi Hang had already noticed the camera in the house. He even invaded the camera with a thought and found the person behind the scenes who was observing this place. Wesker and William Birkin. Tisk, interesting. Yi Hang observed these two guys instead and smiled to himself. At this time, Wesker was looking at the surveillance camera in surprise, curiously looking at the sudden appearance of an additional person. Who is he? Wesker frowned slightly and stared at Yi Hang. According to Internal Information Investigation, his name is Yi Hang, a Chinese American, and a special service agent recruited into the company 3 years ago. If he's not on duty under the hive, why is he there? William was a little surprised and confused. The two quickly paid attention to Yi Hang, and they always felt that the other person was not simple. Yi Hang noticed that an artificial intelligence program was also paying attention here. Red Queen. He was thoughtful and decided to find a time to subdue the Red Queen. There is no time to pay attention to the Red Queen now. It would be best to control the Red Queen and control the entire Umbrella behind the scenes, or directly start another company to fight against Umbrella. Keep Umbrella and let yourself make full use of the other party to develop your own mechanical army and research various high technologies. For example, this world's genetic technology, cloning technology, etc. Dee. At this time, a voice came. Attention, I am Dr. Marcus, please calm down. Let's recall the spirit of the Enterprise, obey management, and move forward courageously. Is it Marcus? Billy frowned slightly. We're in trouble. Rebecca said nervously. Now we must find an exit as soon as possible and escape. Billy, Rebecca, you two go find a way out, and I'll go deal with the dangers here. Be careful. Yi Hang raised his hand, patted Rebecca and warned. Okay, be careful. Rebecca nodded, picked up the gun and walked directly to the other side. Billy is gone too. Only Yi Hang was left alone, and he directly hacked the surveillance system. Fake. Wesker and William, who were monitoring behind the scenes, couldn't help but cursed when they looked at the black screen. Hack surveillance. Yi Hang then stretched out his hand with confidence, and 2 black nanoparticles quickly poured out, turning into 2 sharp black tang knives. Hunting time. He raised a smile and walked forward with 2 knives in hand. Open a door on the right. Dong, dong dong, roar. Hearing the noise, several zombies appeared. Come on baby. Yi Hang laughed ferociously and raised his hand to kill several zombies one by one. After killing him, he transformed directly and turned into several mechanical puppets following behind him. Go and clean up the zombies. With his order, the transformed mechanical puppets condensed sharp blades and began to clean up zombies everywhere. Walking through a restaurant, I saw 2 zombies wandering in the kitchen. No nonsense, I opened the door and went in to solve it and transform it. Soon I had 10 mechanical puppets around me. There is a passage in the kitchen and there is a door. Open and enter to see a corridor. A roar could be heard across the corridor. It turned out to be a boiler room. The steam was steaming, but there was no one inside. Yi Hang walked towards the other side, cleaning up and looking for prey while monitoring the situation of Rebecca and Billy. There is a mechanical puppet secretly following Rebecca to prevent dangerous situations just in case. Soon, Yi Hang came to a storage room. There are all kinds of boxes here. Anyone who has played the game knows that there is a zombie hiding over there. Roar! Around the corner, a zombie suddenly appeared and rushed toward Yi Hang. I remember being shocked when I saw this thing when I was playing games. Seeing the zombies rushing towards him, Yi Hang raised his hand and pierced his head with a knife. An influx of black nanoparticles transformed the zombie into a mechanical puppet in the blink of an eye, under his control and command. After dealing with the zombie, Yi Hang glanced at an angel statue in the corner. He turned around and walked up the stairs at the corner. Follow the stairs to the top of the building and you can see the forest in the distance. His mind conveyed information and orders, and the mechanical puppets hidden in the forest began to sweep away. Several zombies around were eliminated one by the mechanical puppets following them, and then transformed into new mechanical puppets to join. In the front corridor, there are many special potted plants. These are special herbs. Yi Hang put it away and prepared to study and analyze it to see if he could make medicine. At the end of the corridor, there is a door. There is a statue on each side with arms crossed, just locking the door. Boom! Yi Hang opened the door violently and kicked it open. What came into view was a large group of zombies, all looking over. Hey, come on baby. Yi Hang showed a cruel smile and jumped in with his 2 swords in hand. A fight. The conference room fell silent. All the dozen zombies inside were eliminated and transformed into mechanical puppets. After coming out of the conference room, Yi Hang came to the second floor of the hall. Yi, are you okay? As soon as they came out, they saw Rebecca walking with a gun and some blood on her body. We encountered some zombies on the road, but they were all dealt with without incident. It's okay, we just cleaned up some zombies. Yi Hang smiled and nodded, stepping forward to gently wipe the blood on her cheek. Rebecca was embarrassed by this intimate gesture and her face turned red. Well, did you find anything? He asked softly as he wiped it. Rebecca shook her head. No, apart from those monster zombies, I didn't find much, but I found a weapon. As she spoke, she raised the weapon she had just harvested behind her back. A grenade launcher. Not bad. Yi Hang nodded appreciatively. He glanced around and suggested, Billy is still searching. The 2 of us will search the second floor together before we talk. Good. Rebecca nodded and followed Yi Hang with the weapon in hand. The 2 searched the second floor. In the middle of the second floor, above the portrait of Marcus, there is a statue of an angel holding a scale in his hand, which looks like a mechanism. It's just that Yi Hang was too lazy to pick up the angel statue from before, so he controlled the mechanism with his mind, and a clicking sound came. Boom! Some kind of mechanism is turned on. Yi Hang was thoughtful and pulled Rebecca towards the front. The 2 walked along the corridor on the second floor and saw 2 doors, one of which was locked. However, he kicked her open and violently opened the door. This scene made Rebecca's heart beat faster. Too brutal. All zombies encountered were dealt with and cleared away casually. Soon, the 2 appeared in a huge room. There is a huge pool inside, which is dry and has no water. It seems to be some kind of testing ground. Rebecca observed it and came to a conclusion. Yi Hang looked at an iron cage under the pool and there was something inside. There seems to be a rocker mechanism on the side. That seems to be a mechanism. I'll open it. After he finished speaking, he jumped down and flipped the switch. I saw the iron chain on the iron cage making a clattering sound, pulling, and the cage slowly rose. Is there a key in there? Rebecca's head was filled with questions. Who put the key inside? She had just picked up the key and was about to go up, but at this moment, the drain of the pool suddenly broke. Boom! A huge centipede crawled out. Its huge body and densely packed claws rushed towards Rebecca, frightening her. Careful! Yi Hang's figure flashed, holding the sluggish Rebecca aside and falling aside. Looking at the huge centipede in front of him, there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. This thing must be very good after being transformed into a mechanical body. Hiss, the centipede roared angrily when it lost its prey. Then it swooped towards Yi-Hang and Rebecca. Roll! Yi-Hang shouted loudly, jumped up, and slapped the centipede on the head. With a boom sound, the centipede's huge body flew directly backwards and hit the wall. It was badly beaten and its head was split open. This shows how powerful that slap just was. Not to mention centipede, even Rebecca was stunned. Hiss, centipede struggled to get up. But in the next second, Yi-Hang was there to kill him. A black spear condensed in his hand instantly penetrated the centipede's head and stabbed into the ground. The centipede roared in pain, struggled violently for a few times and then stopped moving. After quietly injecting some nanoparticles into the centipede's body, Yi-Hang pulled out the spear and came to Rebecca. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Rebecca finally woke up, blushed, and said a little shyly, "It's okay, I was petrified just now. Fortunately, you are here, otherwise I would be dead." "It's okay, let's go." Yi-Hang smiled slightly and pulled her towards the other door. After the two left, the dead centipede's body trembled, and countless black nanoparticles wrapped its body, quickly transforming into a terrifying mechanical centipede. After the transformation was completed, the mechanical centipede quickly drilled back and disappeared. Walking out of the door, Yi-Hang and Rebecca came to the balcony. "The scenery outside is pretty good from here." The two were preparing to leave across the balcony. Quack! At this moment, there were bursts of weird cries in the sky. Looking up, he suddenly saw a large flock of crows flying towards the two of them. "It's a crow, and it's been mutated by the virus." Rebecca's face changed slightly, and she suddenly became nervous. She raised her gun and prepared to fire, but was stopped by Yi-Hang. "Let me do it." Yi-Hang shook his head, and then waved his hand, immediately condensing black sharp blades and flying away at the crows in the air. Whoosh! Almost instantly, a large group of crows were pierced by sharp blades and fell to the ground. Not surprisingly, it was instantly killed. Rebecca's eyes widened and she stared blankly at Yi-Hang, feeling extremely shocked. She feels that Yi-Hang is too mysterious and has some incredible abilities. Yi-Hang pulled her across the balcony and into a room. "As soon as I entered, I saw two huge monsters. Those are brain suckers, they look like two fleas." Puff! Before the two brain suckers could take action, two sharp blades thrown by Yi-Hang pierced through the body and took the lunch on the spot. When the two left the room, the dead brain sucker was quickly transformed into a mechanical puppet, along with the dead crow on the balcony. In this way, Yi-Hang can control these modified mechanical puppets. After coming out, they saw an elevator. The two of them jumped off and went around in circles, like a huge maze. Rebecca was almost stunned. "Hey, Yi-Hang, Rebecca. As soon as I got down, I saw Billy below. Did you find anything?" He stepped forward to question the two of them. Yi-Hang shook his head. "I found nothing except monsters. I found this." Billy pulled out a white angel statue. He pointed to the portrait in the center and said, "It should be something that opens some kind of mechanism. No need to bother." Yi-Hang shook his head, stepped forward, raised his hand and pressed it against the wall. Boom! He exerted a slight force, and the wall and the statue burst into pieces. The violent scene completely shocked both Billy and Rebecca. Everyone was dumbfounded. "Oh, shit." Billy was so horrified that he couldn't even speak. Rebecca's eyes sparkled, looking at Yi-Hang with excitement and fiery eyes. Walls and statues crumble, revealing a massive passage. "Done, let's go." Yi-Hang greeted the two of them and then took the lead into the huge passage in front of him. Billy and Rebecca looked at each other and hurriedly followed. The three of them entered the passage. Roar! As soon as they entered, the three of them heard a strange roar coming from the front of the passage. What sound? In the dark passage, Rebecca was a little nervous. In front of the three people, there was a rustling sound. It seems like something is coming. Yi-Hang's vision was not affected, and he could clearly see three huge mutant spiders crawling towards the top of the passage. "It's a spider," Billy exclaimed, raised his gun and fired. It's a pity that it doesn't have much effect on the spider. Whoosh! The next second, Yi-Hang took action, throwing three sharp blades through the air, instantly piercing through the three mutant spiders. Seeing him solve it easily, Billy swallowed. He feels Yi-Hang is more terrifying than a monster. Let's go. Yi Hang smiled and moved on. Billy and Rebecca hurriedly followed, and the three of them walked around the mutated spider's body. Behind, the dead mutated spider moved slightly and quickly got up again, its whole body completely transformed into a machine. It looks even more ferocious and terrifying. Roar. At the end of the passage, a beast roar came. The three of them opened a door, and what they saw was a huge chimpanzee. It has a huge body and is covered with a weird muscle structure, which looks terrifying. It's a mutant gorilla. Roar. Seeing the three people coming in, the mutant gorilla rushed towards them, beating its chest and roaring. Its ferocious appearance frightened both Billy and Rebecca. Back off. Yi Hang took a step forward, raised his hand and punched the gorilla. Two fists, one big and one small, bumped together. Boom. After a muffled sound, a wave of air came. Billy couldn't stand still and staggered back a few steps before regaining his balance. But Rebecca was okay. Most of the air waves were blocked by Yi Hang. Hiss. The two of them gasped at the scene in front of them. The gorilla, which was several meters tall, was punched by Yi Hang and was sent flying across the air and smashed into the wall. Who is the monster? Billy was trembling all over, his face turned pale, and he had a new understanding of Yi Hang's strength. This man is so terrible. Ouch. The gorilla screamed, struggled a few times and then stopped moving. With just one punch, the mutated gorilla was killed, which was absolutely horrifying. Click. At this moment, a door next to it opened inexplicably. I saw three huge monsters walking out of the gate. These three monsters are covered with thick scales and look ferocious and terrifying. Not good. Billy's face changed drastically and he exclaimed, "Go quickly." However, before he could finish his words, he saw Yi Hang suddenly rushing forward. Bang bang bang. Ouch. The figure flashed, and then the monster screamed. The three monsters were knocked upside down one after another and fell to the ground wailing. Yi Hang punched three monsters down one by one and crushed them so hard that the monsters had no power to fight back. This made Billy's expression freeze, and he swallowed dryly and remained silent. He looked at Yi Hang with a hint of fear and awe. Perhaps, this man is the real monster. Amazing. Rebecca's eyes shone, looking at Yi Hang with admiration. This man is full of mystery, powerful and fascinating. No matter what she encountered along the way, Yi Hang solved it easily, which can be said to give Rebecca a full sense of security. Now she couldn't help but want to throw herself into his arms and feel the feeling of peace of mind. Killed the monster. The three of them came to a large chapel. What on earth does Umbrella want to do to create so many monsters? Billy looked solemn and worried. Rebecca was also in a bad mood, worried about her teammates and various monsters. Be careful, there's something inside. Yi Hang looked at the chapel in front of him and looked above his head. The two of them looked up and suddenly broke out in cold sweat. I saw that a big hole had been broken at some point in the top of the chapel. At the top of the auditorium, there were countless bats, large and small, hanging upside down. One of them was particularly huge, with a wingspan of several meters, like a huge monster hanging there. As soon as the three people came in, they immediately alerted the bats above. Gigi. A swarm of bats woke up. The largest bat spread its wings and emitted bursts of piercing sound waves. Rebecca and Billy felt dizzy and almost fainted on the ground. Fortunately, Yi Hang blocked the ultrasonic wave in time. You guys get out. He threw the two away. Then he looked at the densely packed bats above his head. A large group flew down and rushed towards him. What a good group of babies, just right for me to transform. Yi Hang showed a cruel smile, and powerful telepathy spurted out. Buzz. The air trembled, and countless bats fell down inexplicably, like dumplings. The largest bat let out a violent scream and flapped its wings in an attempt to escape. Unfortunately, after a few flops, it finally fell to the ground, and its brain was crushed by Yi Hang's telekinesis. In the end, Yi Hang transformed these dead bats one by one and turned them into mechanical bats under his control. After taking care of everything, he ordered these mechanical bats to leave, then turned around and walked out. The problem is solved. Yi Hang came outside and nodded to the shocked two people with a smile. Quote. Is this solved? The two of them looked stunned, completely in disbelief. Sure enough, when I went in, I saw that the countless bats that were so densely packed were gone. There's an elevator over there. Soon, the three of them found an elevator. Pushing up the electric switch on the side, the three of them walked into the elevator and slowly ascended. Soon after, we got off the elevator hall. The three came to a laboratory. There was a zombie here, which was easily dispatched. There are many experimental specimens in the laboratory, among which various leech specimens are particularly eye-catching. Nothing found. After checking, Rebecca and Billy came to Yi Hang. Neither of them found anything special. Let's go, I found it. Yi Hang smiled and led the two of them to a corridor. He punched a wall in the corridor. Boom, the wall collapsed, revealing a passage. Quote. Behind him, Billy's eyelids were twitching wildly, and he was so frightened that his heart almost exploded. Can you be normal? It's scary. At the end of the corridor is a huge iron door, closed. This door is sealed, unable to. Billy checked it out and spoke. Boom, but before he finished speaking, the door crashed down and scattered around. Billy laughed dryly with a frozen expression. Just be straightforward. Yi Hang clapped his hands and walked in first. Billy and Rebecca looked at each other dumbfounded, and hurriedly followed him when they saw him entering. Inside the gate, there are huge cages. This should be a place where experimental creatures are kept. Hiss. At this time, two monsters rushed out quickly and flew towards the three people. Those were two predators. Court death. Yi Hang snorted coldly, took a step forward, and grabbed the two hunters with both hands. Bang bang. He grabbed the hunter's neck with one hand and slammed their heads together hard. The next second, his brain exploded. The hunter struggled twice and then lay down helplessly. After dealing with the monster, the three of them came to the corner. Directly ahead, a large rusty iron door came into view. Billy and Rebecca both looked at Yi Hang. I saw that he did not stop, pressing one hand on the big iron door. Boom. With a slight push, the big iron door was completely dented, and then flew in. Hiss. The huge movement woke the two of them up, and when they looked inside, they gasped in shock at the scene inside. On the other side of the iron gate is a huge factory workshop. Looking around, the ground, ceiling, and walls were covered with countless black flesh cocoons, bulging and squirming, making people's scalp numb. Hiss. Billy and Rebecca both gasped and took a step back in shock. The scene in front of me was so scary that I felt numb all over. These are leeches. There are countless densely packed ones, which are frightening to look at. Yi Hang glanced over and looked at the countless leeches without paying much attention. His eyes fell on the high platform in the middle, where a person stood. Hee hee, GG, ha 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 ha. The man lowered his head and let out bursts of weird laughter. His teeth were sore and his scalp was numb. On the high platform, an old man in a suit lowered his head and laughed wildly, as if he was going crazy, which made the three people present look at each other. Laughing at your mother for selling batches. Yi Hang cursed and laughed too hard. Ah, the laughter stopped abruptly. He suddenly raised his head, and there was a hint of coldness in the two eyes in the deep-set eye sockets, and the withered face had a dry blue color, which looked strange. It's him. Billy frowned and looked at the wizened old man in surprise. Rebecca on the side suddenly exclaimed, James Marcus, how is it possible? Aren't you already dead? Death, ha ha ha. The old man went crazy again, laughing so hard that his whole body trembled. Yi Hang looked at the crazy old man speechlessly, and a stepping figure disappeared from the place. When he appeared again, he was already in front of the old man. He raised his hand and slapped him. Bang! A large sinus. The old man smashed it on the wall on the spot and embedded it in it, causing a large dent in his face. His smile froze and he looked at Yi Hang in front of him in shock. You, Marcus looked furious. Yi Hang interrupted him. What are you? You laugh so hard, I'll blow your head off if you laugh again. You people, I want revenge, you all want to die. Marcus roared and his body began to mutate. Click, click, click. There were bursts of strange noises. Marcus's body was shaking abnormally, his clothes were torn, and weird muscles were bulging. A large number of sarcomas around him ruptured, and mutant leeches flew out, which densely wrapped around his body and began to mutate rapidly. Back off, you guys leave first. Yi Hang was disgusted and hurriedly backed away and asked Rebecca and Billy to leave. Looking at the mutated monster, Rebecca turned pale with fright and hurriedly backed away. Be careful, she warned and exited. After all, Staying here would be a burden to Yi Hang. Billy was faster and ran out neatly. Ever since I saw Yi Hang's monster power, I understood that staying would be a drag. As soon as the two left, Marcus completed his mutation. Boom! Its appearance changed dramatically. Its humanoid body was covered with dark tumors, each one was boiling with disgusting thick juice, and tentacles stretched out, which were covered with sharp teeth. It's so frustrating to watch. Leech Queen. Yi Hang looked at the changed Leech Queen in front of him and felt really sick. This thing is so disgusting. They don't even want to transform into mechanical puppets, so they might as well just destroy them all. After all, it's so disgusting that I can't even see it. Ah! The Leech Queen's vaguely human face let out a howl. The weird sound was so harsh that it shattered the surrounding glass. Unfortunately, it has no effect at all for Yi Hang. The strong sound waves are like a breeze blowing on the face and there is no feeling. It's too ugly. You'd better go get the lunch box. After Yi Hang finished speaking, he raised his hand, and dense black sharp blades appeared around him, whizzing towards the Leech Queen in an instant. Puff puff. In just a short moment, the Leech Queen was chopped into pieces by 1,000 knives and instantly turned into a pile of broken flesh. It was minced, but the minced meat on the ground was still squirming, and leeches crawled out of the broken sarcoma around it, swarming in densely. The constant gathering of these mutated leeches actually allowed the broken Leech Queen to recover again. Moreover, this recovery also produced a second mutation, forming a second form. Destroy. Looking at the disgusted Yi Hang, he raised his hand and held it with 5 fingers. Countless leeches and the Leech Queen were imprisoned by an invisible force. With a gentle squeeze of Yi Hang's 5 fingers. With a bang, all the leeches in the room, including the Leech Queen, were instantly crushed into a pile of flesh, and finally squeezed hard into a ball of powder. The Leech Queen, who was supposed to be powerful, took the lunchbox from Yi Hang before she could show off her power. I have to say it's a sad story. Finished. Outside, Rebecca and Billy heard the commotion and quietly came closer to take a look, and were stunned. The Leech Queen is gone. Countless mutated leeches also disappeared without a trace, leaving the two of them in a daze. How Yi Hang solved it seems to be over just after it started. Clang! The iron door next to them was kicked away by Yi Hang, awakening the two people in a daze. Don't be in a daze, come here quickly. Yi Hang waved, and the two of them woke up from a dream. It turned out that I found the exit and there was a cable car there. Just take the cable car to get out of here. Get in the car quickly. Yi Hang said hello and took the lead on the cable car. There was a corpse on top, which he threw down casually. When the two got on the cable car, they suddenly found a large group of mutant monkeys in front of them. But unfortunately, he was solved by Yi Hang before he even got close. Buzz. As soon as the switch was pulled, the three of them took the cable car and slowly left the cadre training center. Finally escaped. Looking at the cadre training center getting further and further away, Billy looked like he was surviving a disaster. Rebecca was nestling in Yi Hang's arms, her face filled with tranquility, and she felt a strong sense of security smelling Yi Hang's body. Along the way, Yi Hang shocked her too much. He is like a mystery that makes people unable to help but get addicted and unable to extricate themselves. Just when the three of them were feeling relaxed, suddenly there was an explosion in the distance. Boom! An explosion rang out, awakening the three people on the cable car. Looking around, I saw an astonishing scene. I saw a corner of the cadre training center explode, and a tall figure slowly walked out from inside. Seeing this figure, Billy lost his voice. What is that? Rebecca stared blankly at the huge figure in a daze. Tyrant. Yi Hang looked at the huge figure in surprise. It was a tyrant. From the looks of it, it was the first experimental T-001 tyrant produced by Umbrella. It was nearly 3 meters tall, and one of its arms had been completely transformed into a sharp claw. Roar! The tyrant roared at the slowly leaving cable car. Then it suddenly jumped up, its huge and sharp claws cutting towards the cable car rope. Tyrant's actions frightened Billy and Rebecca on the opposite cable car. What should I do if the monster wants to cut the cable? Billy panicked and was at a loss with the gun. Don't panic. Yi Hang waved his hand and stared at the tyrant with his claws on the cable. With a clang, the cable broke. He didn't panic at all, but showed a hint of excitement. This tyrant is not bad. If transformed into a mechanical tyrant, his combat power will definitely explode. It's broken, it's broken, Billy exclaimed. Rebecca hid in Yi Hang's arms, her face turned pale. It would be doomed if it fell. Yi Hang held Rebecca in his arms, and with the frightened Billy in one hand, he kicked the cable car door away and jumped off. Billy was dumbfounded. Yi Hang actually led two people to jump off a cable car dozens of meters high. Ah! A scream echoed through the forest. Bang! The cable car fell, creating a huge crater. Not far away, Yi Hang hugged Rebecca and carried Billy to the ground safely. Ah! Billy was still screaming. Stop shouting! Yi Hang threw him to the ground, interrupting his screams. Billy gasped for air, his face turned pale, and he sat on the ground in shock. I'm not dead. He kept groping his body and felt that everything was fine, which made him feel surprised and happy. Rebecca rolled her eyes and mocked. You are a grown man, but you screamed in fear, isn't it embarrassing? Billy lowered his head in embarrassment, rubbed his face and got up shakily, his feet trembling. I just really jumped from a height of tens of meters. He thought he was going to die, but he didn't expect to miraculously survive. No, it was because Yi Hang carried him and landed safely as if nothing was wrong. Incredible. This Asian man is simply unbelievable. Roar. Dong dong dong. At this time, there was a violent sound from behind. The three people looked around hurriedly and saw the huge tyrant chasing after them quickly. The monster is coming, Billy shouted in horror. Okay, you guys go first and I'll deal with that tyrant. Yi Hang waved his hand and sent the two of them away first. And he stayed behind to deal with the tyrant. Be careful yourself, Rebecca warned nervously, then turned around and ran away. After all, there was no use for her to stay, as she didn't want to drag Yi Hang down. As soon as the two left, Yi Hang was left standing there waiting for the arrival of the tyrant. Boom! 3 minutes later, the tyrant jumped and landed not far in front of him. A puff of smoke arose. The tyrant slowly stood up, his huge body filled with a sense of oppression. Little tyrant, I've been waiting for you for a long time. The corners of Yi Hang's mouth curled up slightly, revealing an excited smile. Roar! The tyrant roared and attacked Yi Hang with his huge claws. With a swish, the claws cut through the surrounding trees, and Yi Hang was attacked directly in front of him. Clang! Just hearing the sound of gold and iron clashing, Yi Hang blocked the tyrant's big claw with one hand. The tyrant was obviously stunned for a moment, because he didn't expect that this little man could actually block the blow of its violent claws. The power is good. Yi Hang turned his hand and grabbed the tyrant's claw and flicked it. Boom! The tyrant was thrown to the ground hard and flew up again before he could react. Boom! Another heavy fall, creating a big crater in the ground. Bang bang bang! The next second, Yi Hang picked up the tyrant and smashed it against the ground. For a time, smoke and dust raged, and rocks flew. The tyrant was so stunned that he had no power to fight back. It took 10 minutes to stop. Looking at the messy ground around him, the tyrant lay twitching slightly in the pit. Yi Hang walked closer and stepped on the tyrant's head. With a click, the tyrant's head shattered. Be a good boy and let me transform you and make you stronger. He muttered something to himself, and then a stream of black nanoparticles poured into the tyrant's body. Roar! The tyrant's body trembled and he roared. It is resisting, the virus in the body is resisting. Unfortunately, he was unable to resist the transformation of nanoparticles, and was eventually transformed into a mechanical tyrant bit by bit. Kakaka! In the big pit, the body of the tyrant was squirming, as if the metal combination began to reorganize, turning into a black tyrant 3 meters high. Its whole body is covered with black mechanical structures, glowing with a dark metallic luster, and its huge body is full of a sense of power and intimidation. Owner! The transformed mechanical tyrant lowered his head slightly, with respect in his eyes. Yi Hang looked at the tyrant who had completed the transformation and nodded with satisfaction. Yes, let's go and continue to grow the mechanical army. He waved his hand and gave an order. Aha! The tyrant turned around and jumped, disappearing into the jungle very quickly. After taking down the tyrant, Yi Hang turned around and quickly chased Rebecca. Soon he caught up. Yi, has the monster been solved? Seeing Yi Hang, Rebecca rushed forward excitedly and asked worriedly. Yi Hang patted her and comforted her. Don't worry, I've already dealt with a mere tyrant. That's good. She breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Facing the tyrant's behemoth, the two of them really had no idea of defeat. Fortunately, Yi Hang solved the monster, otherwise it would be really troublesome. Where's Billy? Yi Hang didn't see Billy ask in confusion. He just left on his own. Rebecca shook her head slightly and sighed. Gone. Yi Hang was surprised, but soon understood. He didn't pay attention to Billy and just left. Look, is this Umbrella's laboratory, the aquarium, below? At this time, Yi Hang asked, pointing to a huge building below. Rebecca looked up and saw a huge building. It's the aquarium. Yes, it's a mansion. Rebecca nodded affirmatively. Let's take a rest first and then go to the mansion. Yi Hang looked at Rebecca, who was a little tired, and decided to rest first. She didn't say much. After all, she was really exhausted from the journey and wanted to rest for a long time. I wonder what happened to the others. Rebecca sat on a rock and looked worriedly at the aquarium below. She was worried about other people. It's unclear what happened to Captain Enrique and others. Yi Hang didn't say much, knowing very well that Enrique and others were obviously dead. The entire team, with the exception of Rebecca, had no one left alive, and they all died in the forest. After resting for 20 minutes, the two finally started rushing towards the aquarium. Stop and go. 3 hours later. Before the sun set, the two finally arrived in front of the mansion. Finally reached. Looking at the mansion in front of her, Rebecca felt a little melancholy. The building of the mansion looks very old. I don't know when it was built. But this place is called a mansion, but it's actually a rest home set up by Umbrella, and it's also a secret biochemical laboratory. This is not the main entrance of the mansion. Just look for other entrances. A broken glass window was quickly found, which seemed to be where the other teams had entered. Other teams should have been here, Rebecca concluded after some inspection. I don't know what happened to Sister Jill and Chris. After climbing through the window and entering the mansion, Rebecca was worried. Yi Hang walked through the corridor with her and soon came to a huge restaurant. Bang bang bang. At this moment, fierce gunfire came from the front. Yi Hang and Rebecca looked at each other and hurried over. As soon as I arrived, I saw the door click open. Then a beautiful woman wearing a beret and a blue skirt rushed in and looked behind. I was surprised to see several zombie dogs chasing me. Close the door quickly, Jill shouted, and Rebecca hurriedly stepped forward and closed the door while firing. Once the door is closed, the zombie dog loses its target. Sister Jill, it's great to meet you. Seeing Jill, Rebecca ran up excitedly. Rebecca, seeing her, Jill was surprised and happy, and hugged her hurriedly. Why are you here? Are you not injured? What about the rest? She quickly checked Rebecca to see if she was injured. It's you. When Gil saw Yi Hang, he came over in surprise. Jill, we meet again. Yi Hang smiled and nodded in greeting. Rebecca, why are you alone? Where are the others? First tell me what happened. Jill invited the two of them to sit on the stairs of the hall and began to ask Rebecca about the situation of the team there. Then Rebecca learned about Captain Enrique, and Gil met him, but unfortunately he was later killed. Bang bang. Just then, a burst of gunfire came from the back door. Jill woke up immediately. At the back door. Go and have a look. Jill looked stern and hurried over with a gun. Yi Hang and Rebecca immediately followed Jill. When the three of them came to the back door, they saw an injured man sitting on the ground. Chris. Gil ran quickly, looking at the man sitting on the ground. He is Chris. Jill, and Rebecca. Chris' head was a little dizzy, and he shook his head and looked at the two people. Finally, I saw Yi Hang coming with a trace of surprise on his face. Who is this? He asked with confusion as he didn't know Yi Hang. He is Yi Hang. He saved my life. We came from the nursing home. Rebecca explained. Hello. Chris struggled to his feet and nodded politely. Yi Hang didn't say much, but looked at the forest outside the back door. Chris, why are you here? What just happened? Jill asked worriedly. Not good. Chris finally came to his senses. He said with an ugly face, I just met a monster that I can't kill. We can't stay here. We have to leave here quickly. Swish, swish. Just as he finished speaking, there was rustling outside the door. Several people looked around and heard the clatter of iron chains. Then he saw a petite monster with a leather mask on his head, iron chains on his feet, and shackles on his hands, walking slowly towards him. That's it. I was knocked unconscious by this monster just now. Chris reminded him with an ugly expression. When Jill and Rebecca saw the monster, they immediately raised their guns. Wait, don't shoot yet. Yi Hang stepped forward to stop the two. Don't go there, that monster can't be killed. Chris's face changed drastically and he spoke hurriedly. But Yi Hang shook his head slightly and looked at the so-called monster in front of him. She is actually the architect's daughter, Lisa. A poor girl. And she still retains a trace of consciousness, otherwise she would not just knock Chris out, but kill him directly. Yi, don't mess around. Rebecca pulled Yi Hang nervously and was a little scared. The latter smiled and comforted. Don't worry, I'll go talk to her and everything will be fine. Communicate. Jill looked at him in shock. Chris was even more shocked and confused. Are you serious about communicating with monsters? Yi Hang ignored what the three people thought and walked slowly towards Lisa in front. Seeing Yi Hang approaching, Lisa instinctively backed away, seeming to sense his threat. Lisa, don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. Yi Hang smiled and spoke softly. As he spoke, he came to Lisa, stretched out a hand and slowly landed on her head. This scene was so shocking that Jill and Chris almost broke their guard. Lisa was a little scared, took a small step back, and let out a low growl. But Yi Hang was not afraid. Instead, he touched her head and patted her gently. Perhaps sensing that Yi Hang had no ill intentions, Lisa stopped avoiding him. I'll help you repair your body's genes and help you recover. After Yi Hang finished speaking softly, a stream of nanoparticles poured out of his palm and was injected into Lisa's body. Ah! Lisa let out a painful scream and her body trembled slightly. She wanted to escape, but unfortunately she was tightly controlled by Yi Hang and couldn't move. Soon, Lisa's body trembled, and black things surged out of her body. Her rickety body was quickly returning to normal. The mutated genes in her body were being repaired one by one, and a large amount of dead skin was shed from her body. In the blink of an eye, her body returned to its normal human appearance. And because after repair, the body becomes stronger. With a click, Yi Hang took off the shackles on her hands and even crushed the chains on her feet. After doing all this, he slowly pulled off the human skin hood on Lisa's head, revealing her true face. She had long wavy golden hair, a pretty face, and a pair of pure eyes looking at him blankly, with a hint of sluggishness. She returned to normal, but due to more than 10 years of cruel experiments, her consciousness had long been destroyed, leaving only a trace of instinct. Now she has recovered, but she has long forgotten the past, only this deep-seated hatred and painful memory. Seeing the countless painful memories in her brain, Yi Hang finally chose to erase these inhumane experimental memories. Okay, just follow me from now on. Yi Hang smiled and touched her golden hair and said softly. Lisa's dull eyes regained some intelligence, and she looked at Yi Hang with a hint of kindness in her eyes. She stood beside him cautiously and held his hand without letting go. How can it be? Jill, Chris, and Rebecca stared blankly at the scene in front of them. I couldn't believe my eyes at all. Yi Hang actually turned a monster into a normal person. How did he do it? How did you do that? Jill asked, looking at Lisa with a shocked expression. Yi Hang smiled and explained casually. Her body contains a variety of ancestor viruses, and she still retains a trace of memory and emotion during her lifetime. I just repaired the collapsed genes in her body and returned to normal. I just have no memory of her life. The three of them looked at each other in shock upon hearing this. Jill opened her mouth, but stopped talking. What I asked was how you did it, but considering that it was the other person's secret, it was natural not to ask more questions since they were not familiar with each other. Brother Yi Hang, you are so awesome. Rebecca walked up with admiration on her face. She looked at Lisa curiously, stretched out her hand and whispered softly, Hello, my name is Rebecca, nice to meet you. Lisa was a little afraid and hid behind Yi Hang, looking at him cautiously. After seeing Yi Hang nod, he stretched out his hand to shake Rebecca. Lisa, she pronounced with difficulty. This means she has fully recovered. Incredible. Chris still couldn't accept it and felt that his outlook on life was shattered. How can a monster recover? He felt incredible about Yi Hang's mystery and couldn't calm down. Let's go in first. Yi Hang greeted a few people and led Lisa into the aquarium. Chris and Jill looked at each other, smiled bitterly, and then followed. Several people returned to the hall, and there was some silence for a while. Mainly because Chris hadn't woken up from the shock yet, and kept looking at Lisa with his eyes. "Chris, where are the others?" Jill asked at this time. Chris finally woke up and his expression darkened. "Dead," he rubbed his forehead sadly and said, "monsters are everywhere here, everyone else is dead, and Weeks is gone." "Then what do we do next?" Rebecca asked with a heavy expression. Gil glanced at Yihang and then said slowly, "Let's look first to see if we can find anyone else and find a way out. Let's split up." Chris cheered up and recovered in an instant. He glanced at Yihang and Lisa, and then walked upstairs alone. "Rebecca, come with me." Jill pulled Rebecca to search the other side. Only Yihang and Lisa were left. "The big snake has appeared." Yihang watched Jill and the two leave and glanced in one direction with an inexplicable expression. He had already sensed that the mutated giant snake had appeared. "Lisa, let's go, let's follow and take a walk." Yihang smiled and pulled Lisa to follow the direction of Jill and the two. "I really treat this place like shopping. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more."